Oh, it's pretty loud. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our November 6th, 2024 City Planning Commission meeting. The holiday ads will now be taking over our TV screens now, so look forward to that. Commissioners, look forward to hearing your case today. As we understand, every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention they need to build consensus between the applicant, public, and city staff. Our meeting will follow the advertised agenda, and we will hear cases in the order they are listed, beginning with the consent agenda items, followed by the regular docketed items. The commissioners believe we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is hybrid and recorded, we have time limits for the cases we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for the applicant, plus any questions by the commissioners. When we move to public comment, I will call on those who are joining us here in person first, followed by those who are joining us virtually. We do have a timer to keep our meeting on track and expect public comments to be no longer than 2 minutes when speaking as an individual or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or larger group. In all instances, please be brief and limit repetitive comments. If you're joining us virtually, please be ready to go with your camera on and your name correctly displayed. So as we get started, I ask staff to provide additional ground rules and instructions as we conduct this meeting to ensure that we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Sarah, please tell us what rules.
Right, thank you. I will describe the testimony procedure for today's hybrid meeting. For anyone joining online, please know that there are two categories of people participating in the meeting: attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a citizen who is interested in a case, please use the raise hand function when the chair calls the case to let staff know that you should be promoted to a panelist position. That will allow you to speak when you're called upon by the chair. When the promotion happens, you will need to accept the promotion. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected. Don't panic, you will reconnect shortly. If you are joining us via the app on a phone or computer, please change your screen name to reflect your legal name. Understand that if you are calling in with a phone number, you cannot adjust a screen name, and you will not be able to use the raise hand function in the Zoom app. If you are joining by phone, you can raise your hand when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. At the time of a promotion, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera and your microphone so that the commission can see and hear you when it is your time to talk. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. As a reminder, the chat box is only for questions about the agenda, and merits of each case should not be discussed in the chat box. For anyone joining us today in person, please approach the microphone at the podium when it is appropriate to give testimony. You will need to have any exhibits ready on a jump drive and email them to the planner for the case. If you're in person, there's no need to be in the Zoom meeting as well, and joining the meeting in both manners, both in person and virtually, causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. That's all I have.
Okay, so Commissioner Enders joined us online?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So let's begin with the consent agenda items, please.
The consent docket today has two items. Case number CLD Final Plat 2024-14, a request to approve a final plat in District M2-3 on about 12 acres generally located at the southwest corner of Interstate 435 and North Congress Avenue, creating 2 lots and 1 tract for the purpose of an industrial development. In case CLD Final Plat 2024-26, a request to approve a final plat in District R7.5 on about 8 acres, generally located on the south side of East 139th Street, approximately 1,100 feet east of Horridge Road, to allow for the creation of 1 tract for a stream buffer.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding docket items C1 or C2? Okay, this time we'll open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item C1 or C2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
No one has raised their hand online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Mr. Crowell, I move to approve docket items C1 and C2 with conditions stated.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items C1 and C2. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Cassick,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes 5-0 then. Let's move on to the regular docketed items then that with the cases that are looking to be continued to another date.
The first item to be continued is a change from your printed docket, item number 8, CD CPC 2024-125, a request to approve a rezoning from District R80 to R6 on about 6 acres generally located at 250 feet south of the intersection of Noland Road and East 49th Terrace. We request that that item be continued to November 20th without fee. Case number CD CPC 2024-123 and case CD CPC 2024-104, a request to approve an area plan amendment for the heart of the city area plan from residential low density to residential medium density, and a request to approve a rezoning from District UR to R 2.5 on about 1.8 acres generally located at the northeast corner of Brooklyn Avenue and East 20th Street. We request continuance without fee to November 20th. Case CD CPC 2024-135 and CD CPC 2024-136, a request to approve a rezoning from District UR to District DR-5, and a request to approve a development plan which also serves as a preliminary plat to allow 5 multi-unit residential buildings on proposed District DR-5. On about 1.83 acres generally located at the northwest and northeast corners of East 31st Street and Walnut Street, northeast corner of East 31st Street and Grand Avenue, and the northeast corner of East 31st Street and McGee Street, we request a continuance without fee to December 4th for both items. Case CD CPC 2024-107, a request to approve a development plan for 1 industrial logistic/warehouse building in District KCIA on about 7.6 acres generally located at 10220, 10200, and 10150 North Everton Avenue, continuance with fee to November 20th. Case CD CPC 2024-149, a request to approve a major amendment to a master planned development to allow for a drive-through restaurant in District MPD on about 7.2 acres, generally located at 9806 North Oak Traffic Way. We request continuance without fee to November 20th. Case CD CPC 2024-128, a request to approve a rezoning from District R 7.5 to District R 1.5 on about 0.47 acres, generally located at the southeast corner of East 88th Street and Sycamore Avenue, continuance without fee to November 20th. Case CD CPC 2024-114, a request to approve a rezoning from District R 1.5 to B1-2 for the zoning district to reflect existing conditions and prepare for future development on about 1 acre, generally located at 4420 Madison Avenue. Request continuance off docket without fee. Case CD SUP 2024-33, a request to approve a special use permit for a drive-through facility within the Independence Avenue Overlay District on about 0.4 acres generally located at 543 Van Brunt Boulevard. Continuance off docket without fee. And CD CPC 2024-139, a request to approve the Block 124-138 PIEA General Development Plan and declare the area blighted and unsanitary and in need of redevelopment and rehabilitation pursuant to the Missouri Planned Industrial Expansion Authority Law 100.300-100.620 on about 3.5 acres in an area generally bordered by West 13th Street on the north, West Truman Road on the south, Main Street on the east, and Baltimore Avenue on the west. We request continuance without fee to December 4th.
Okay. Several items there. Any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of these docketed items?
Was there one additional to be continued outside of?
It was 8.
Number 8
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do it if you want.
to November
yeah,
20th.
Yeah. Chair Crowley, I move to continue docket
I need to
Oh,
go through
sorry.
public testimony yet. Yep. Okay. No questions from the commissioners. This time we'll open it up for public testimony regarding the continuance of docket items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, this time we'll close public testimony then on the continuance of those docket items, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to continue case 8, 9.1, 9.2, 10.1, 10.2, 11, 12, oh, sorry, 12, not 11, scratch that, 12, 13, without fee to November 20th, 11 with fee to November 20th, 14 and 15 continued off docket, and 16 to December 4th without fee.
Yeah, I need to amend 10-1 and 10-2 to December 4th.
December 4th, sorry.
Okay,
Second.
hesitated.
Hmm.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay, so with that, Margaret, can you take motion or a roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crawl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Massick,
Aye.
Alia.
In fact, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, with that, let's go to docket item number 1, please.
Case CD ROW 2024-18, a request to approve a vacation of public right-of-way in District B3-3 on about 83,000 square feet generally located on Northwest Skyview Avenue between North Ambassador Drive and Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road.
Morning, is the applicant available? There we go.
Yes.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. Justin Smith, City Planning and Development. In front of you is docket item number 1. This is a request to vacate a portion of right-of-way on Northwest Skyview Avenue. The site is located just north of I-29 and 152 Highway within the 1st District in the boundaries of the KCIA area plan. Here's a closer look at the site. We'll be focusing on the portion between North Ambassador Drive and Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road. Originally, the site highlighted in red was the original location for Northwest Skyview Avenue. It was later rededicated to the east. Here's the applicant submittal. 100% adjacent owner consent was achieved. The applicant is proposing 83,000 square feet of right-of-way be vacated. The owner is responsible for retaining easements or relocating facilities at the applicant's expense. There is currently Evergy and Spectrum's facilities in that right-of-way, and the applicant is going to dedicate a 50-foot easement for rapid transit corridor. And here's a view looking at that right away, north on Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Drive. Staff's recommendation is approval subject to conditions.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding docket item number 1?
Yeah, just to be clear, so there is a current bus stop there, right, off of North Ambassador, or no? Or is there not? It calls it out on as like right at the top of where that easement is, the north of the easement. Is there a bus stop there? There is.
Yeah, on North Ambassador
And yeah,
and
so
Skyview.
This proposal is saying that it would maintain 50 feet easement up there for the bus stop.
No, so it's for the rapid transit corridor, which is kind of a future plan to either make an elevated bus stop or a light rail system. So
What
with
would-
any new developments, we've been trying to get a 50-foot easement is what we require.
So it wouldn't stop the bus stop currently, right?
No.
Thank you.
Where would that rapid bus stop or be located? Within that, what's being abandoned or the new on the existing Skyview Avenue?
Yeah, it'll be on highlighted in red. It'll be on the east side of that right away to be vacated.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Enders?
Questions, thanks.
Okay. At this time, we'll welcome the applicant. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Chris Maddox. I'm an attorney with Rouse Fretz White Goss. Address of 4510 Bellevue Avenue, Suite 300, Kansas City, Missouri, 64111.
We're a little rusty. It's been
Yeah,
a while since
it
we've
has
had
been a
one of these
while.
meetings. Okay.
Also with me in the audience are representatives from the developer.
Okay. Anything else to add from the staff report?
No, I think this is a pretty clean case.
Okay. All right. With that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 1, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add for this?
Nope.
Okay. With that, we'll close testimony and if there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item number 1 with conditions.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 1. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crowell.
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Messick.
Aye.
Talia.
Aye.
All right. Looks like the motion passes then 5-0. Thank you.
Stick around for the next one too.
Okay. Very good. Docket item 2.
Case CD CPC 2024-118, a request to approve a development plan in District B3-3 on about 43 acres generally located at the northeast corner of Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road and Northwest Skyview Drive, allowing for the creation of 12 lots and 2 tracts for a commercial development.
Okay, good morning. Matthew Barnes, City Planning and Development with docket item number 2, the development plan for Skyview Crossing at Tiffany Springs. It is at the same location as the previous case in the Northland, just adjacent to Interstate 29 there. Here's a closer view. Yeah, you can see Highway 152 to the south, 129, I-29 to the west there. And then like Zona Rosa and other developments surrounding it. This is the site. This is looking northeast from Skyview and Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road towards the site in question today. And the applicant is proposing a development plan, which will serve as its preliminary plat. There are no buildings or anything that are proposed with this. This is to lay out the site, show future vehicular circulation throughout, and propose design guidelines. Each individual site will come through with a administrative project plan to ensure that they're in compliance with the design line guidelines that are to be with this development plan. But that being said, they are proposing a landscaping plan for the exterior for the street trees. And as noted here on the left, that green is the stream buffer, which will be kept in its natural state. As Justin talked about, the special rapid transit corridor does go through this area. The major street plan outlines this. And this is a plan that's been around since late 60s, early 70s. That is for connecting the airport to downtown. We've actually acquired quite a bit of easements along this corridor over the last 50 years or so. And that connection shows the special rapid transit corridor going along Northwest Tiffany Springs Road before turning north at Skyview and to follow Ambassador northward towards the airport. We've already acquired the right-of-way, or the easement, excuse me, on the south side of Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road there. with that development that has went through and was reviewed by you guys not too long ago, within the last year. We did ask that the developer dedicate this easement along the existing Skyview, the new connection, and after discussions, they have proposed and are granting an easement along the right of way that was just heard, and you guys recommended approval with conditions for vacation, as shown here in red. And that's just the street view looking down that former Skyview right away. Like I said, no buildings are proposed with this plan. All future development will require an administrative approval to ensure that they're in compliance with the design guidelines. That document that was included in the staff report really goes on to talk about architectural style and what kind of materials should be used, multifamily design composition, drive-through facility standards, roofing signage, screening, and landscaping. We did receive a letter that was included in your staff report from the adjacent neighborhood. They had some concerns about the gasoline and car washes. Just as a reminder, the new fuel standards has come into play. This development plan does not expressly approve a gas station. It does allow uses within the B3 zoning district. So any gas station would need to be in conformance with those standards that were adopted by council, which is 2,000 feet away from any existing gas station and 200 feet away from residential. They also had concerns about the type of businesses on Ambassador and want something that is a little more along of daylight business hours, and then increased noise and screening, which would be reviewed with any kind of project plan. With that, staff recommends approval with conditions of docket item number 2, and I can take any questions.
Some of those questions brought up by the public, how did staff address those?
Those were sent to us right before the staff report was sent in. So it was included with the staff report, but not part of the review process.
So we haven't done like a study on how far the gas station, because I think it mentioned that there's 3 gas stations within that kind of small area.
Yeah, there's 2 existing gas stations further to the west at, I believe, Congress and northwest Old Tiffany Springs. Those,
Yeah, they're on the west side of I-29.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not even close. What is it? What did we say it was? 1,000 feet or something like that?
2,000.
2,000 feet, which
Yeah. The development to the south that was approved last year did have a site that was set aside for a gas station. So if that was constructed, then the 2,000 feet would go into play. The ordinance adopted by council doesn't exclude.
Did we clarify with a larger site, or not a larger site, but a site like this? Did we clarify, is it 2,000 feet from, if it's all from the property, or is it 2,000 feet from the actual station, like on the property? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes, from the
So is it from the bounds?
door to door.
Yeah, is it from the bounds, or is it from, do we have definition on that?
It's from the property line.
From the property line, okay. Thank you. Was there, and maybe this is a question for the applicant, was there a traffic control plan or like a study done? They are adding outlets onto Old Tiffany and a couple of these other streets.
Yeah, they did submit a traffic impact study, which would have been reviewed by our Public Works Department.
Okay. You know which sheet that was? Did I miss it?
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Enders?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. This time we'll welcome the applicant then.
Good morning again, Chairman Crow. Chris Maddox, Rouse Fretz White Goss, 4510 Bellevue Avenue, KCMO 64111. Again, we are generally in agreement with staff's recommendation and conditions. for this project. I would just like to reiterate again that this is Zone B3-3 commercial, and we're coming in with just a development plan at this point in time. We don't have any uses really nailed down quite yet, but this will allow us to move forward and try to market the site to potential users. And of course, we'll have to come back for project plan approval. Any sort of drive-through uses, gas stations will have to comply with the current code, including the new ordinance that was just discussed, as well as any special use permits that would be required for those types of uses. So there would be an opportunity, I think, in the future to address specific concerns as they come up. But at this point in time, I think it's just too speculative given the nature of this development plan.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Enders? Okay. At this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony then. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon. Yeah, come on up. Come up to the podium there if you don't mind. Yep. And then state your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just, make sure
My name is Bob.
make sure it's a little
Coon.
closer.
I'm the president of the HOA Villas, and I sent the letter that you just reviewed. I just wanted to call your attention to that letter. Appreciate you taking a look at that and those concerns. Had another concern that there was a traffic impact study, as you asked. We're a little bit concerned that the 95th Street is the major entrance into our development and our single homes development. And as you can expect, most of the traffic right now turns left as they come out of our development and goes south on Ambassador, which we think will be a major change in the traffic, and anticipate maybe a traffic light or something there in the future to get out of that development. It's going to be difficult to do that, but wanted to bring that to your attention. The second thing, wanted to let you know that on a lighter note, we did have a request that in the development they might consider Trader Joe's restaurants or retail store. So put that out to you. So anyway, we do have some concerns about it, but understand where we're going with it. So appreciate your attention.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
I mean, that was my only concern was that one. Well, it was either one. I didn't know which one was the main inlet or outlet of that northern subdivision, but I didn't see any traffic light for either one of those. And my concern is that with those type of inlets and stuff for developments, you always get a little bit of a traffic jam. But I'm assuming that that's been looked at in the study.
Yeah,
Is there anybody else for public testimony?
We have no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then. Coming back to the comment that was brought up about, is there a future traffic signal planned at Ambassador and Old Tiffany? Do we know?
We do have Nick Bossinetto from Public Works online.
Okay,
If you'd like him to address that question.
yeah.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry, what's the question?
So on this particular development, the question that came up from the neighborhood regarding the main entrance and exit to the site for their neighborhood is on North Ambassador and Northwest Skyview Avenue. I think there's a 4-way stop there now, maybe?
Correct.
Is there plans in the future as this area develops to put a traffic signal in there or do something a little bit different with the traffic control?
Yes, sir. We have plans of installing traffic signals at Skyview and Ambassador and it's
Old
and-
Tiffany Springs and Skyview.
Old Tiffany Springs?
Yes, Old Tiffany Springs and Skyview, and also at Skyview and Ambassador. So those two are going forward. The one at Ambassador is fully funded, and I believe it's going to go under construction here in the next couple of months, maybe next year. And then the one that we're talking about today, that is under design, and we have, I think, most of the funding available. So, yes,
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
no problem.
Yes, sir.
That is not the main entrance. The main entrance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. I don't think there's anything planned for that area there. Yeah. Right, yeah. All right, thank you. All right, with that, any other questions from the commission? Thoughts about the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowe, I move to approve docket item number 2 with conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 2 with conditions stated. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Kasich,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye. All right, looks like the motion passes in. Thanks for bringing it in and good luck.
Thank you for your time.
All right, with that, let's move to docket item number 3 then.
Case CD SUP 2024-32, a request to reapprove a special use permit for light equipment sales / rental outdoor and any other necessary variances in District B3-2 on about 0.35 acres located at 2920 Prospect Avenue, or generally located at the southwest corner of East 29th Street and Prospect Avenue.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Plan Commission, Olafo Agbaji, City Planning and Development. As soon as I can get. We good?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, docket item number 3, case number SUP 2024-0032. This is a request by True Value Motors for reapproval of an SUP that was granted back in 2019. The site, location of the site is down in the Midtown on Prospect Avenue, just east of 71 and south of 70 Prospect, just north of 31st and Linwood Boulevard. And this is the site, about 0.35 acres. This is a view of the site looking south. The commercial building to the south is Cash American Pawn Shop, which is currently existing. This is the car lot as it exists today. This is a picture of the front with wrought iron fence and just existing trees and shrub. And this is a look of how the car lot operates. Again, this was originally approved back by the BZA in November of 20, wrong date, that should be 2019, to allow for this, but it was only granted for a period of 5 years. So they're back for reapproval. And today's request is just to reapprove the existing operation to continue. They did all the public engagement with the Key Coalition neighborhood back in September, and there's a letter of support attached to your staff report. And then the revised plan shows the trees that have been planted and shrubs. And this is the plan as approved. And should the applicant choose to go to full phase 2 mode, they'll be required to then go forward with the plan as approved in 2019. Staff's recommendation is for approval, subject to the condition attached to your report. That ends my report, and I'll take any questions.
Olafu, just one question. In the conditions, it stated that there's a letter from the BZA. Do you have that available or?
A letter or the disposition letter?
Yeah, disposition letter.
No, I don't have that here. That's but my condition states that all those conditions will be met if you choose to go to full build out. So
Okay, have those items been met or have you gone through those items within that letter?
the ones that had to do with the site have been met. The site has been striped, the trees have been planted, and I do request that he gives me submit an affidavit. So the plan needs to be stamped and updated prior to BZA hearing next week.
Okay,
And those are the 3 conditions that this is moving forward with.
Okay, just might suggest that you add that to the staff report as you go to
Okay.
BZA,
Thank you.
just so it's all in one spot. That's all. Okay. Any questions from the commission to city staff?
Yeah, I have one. So it says that phase 2 is gonna be continue until the economy improves. So what does that mean?
Phase 2 is more of a build out where he has more cars. I don't think he said, go ahead, he can answer phase 2. There right now, his inventory is limited and he can tell you how many he has based on the picture on the site. I think he has under 10, but he can answer that. So when phase 2 will be, but he's just going to continue the operation as it exists. And I'll have him answer that. So I don't want to answer for him.
So I'm just wondering what like when do you think that phase 2 will be? What does
Well-
that mean?
Morning, everyone.
Yep. Good morning.
Okay.
Your name and address.
Robert Lewis. Okay, Kansas City, Missouri, 2920 Prospect is my property. It's been my neighborhood for 60 years. And in regards to phase 2, I have to pay attention. As of now, we have an extreme squatter problem. I mean, the property next to me, you can't even get to the area. They're burning, they burnt down the house. It's and I'm watching before I send all of my money there. Okay, so I can't say when that'll happen. I've seen every official there trying to remove the problem, and they can't. You know? So I can't say exactly when that would take place.
Sure.
You know, but as of now, I keep it in a nice condition, and I try to keep away from that problem. Had I known what I know now, I would have bought that property next to me. I didn't know this was coming, but it's here. So I can't answer that as to when phase 2 will come into effect.
For reference, the property and to the north of him used to be a halfway house, I think. And that has been closed, but there's squatters there that keep burning it down, keep squatting, but the halfway house is no longer there.
Okay. All right, any other questions for the applicant then? Commissioner Enders, anything?
No questions. Thank you.
Did you say you've been around this area for 60 years?
60 years.
You don't look 60.
Yeah, I was
I would not have guessed that. But,
just today.
happy birthday. All right, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion.
Chair Carl, I move to approve docket item number 3 with conditions stated.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 3. And before we go roll call, I just want to clarify, is there a time limit on this special use permit?
No, this was to remove the time limit. The 5 years was imposed to see how it's going to fit within that location.
Okay. All right. So I've got a motion and a second. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Parkin,
Aye.
Prowl.
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Pasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right. Looks like the motion passes in. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yep. All right. Moving on to the next one, docket item number 4, please.
Okay, CD SUP 2024-35, a request to approve a special use permit for a motor vehicle repair general in a B3-2 zoning district on about 0.39 acres generally located at 3108 East 9th Street. Would you like me to also call number 5?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we need to open both of them up.
Case number 5 is CD SUP 2024-34, a request to approve a special use permit for a light equipment sales / rental in a B3-2 zoning district on about 0.39 acres, generally located at 3108 East 9th Street.
Okay, all good to go?
Yeah.
All right. This is docket item number 4 and 5, CD SUP 2024-34 and 35. This is for a special use permit, 2 special use permits for light equipment sales and rentals, outdoor and motor vehicle repair general. It's located at East 9th Street, 3108 East 9th Street. It's on East 9th Street, so it's east of downtown. This is the general site on East 9th and Gladstone. The building here is on the east half. That is where the motor vehicle general or motor repair will be. And then the light equipment sales and rental will be on the west half of the lot outdoors in the parking area. This is just my case distinction. I wanted to make sure that everyone understands that light equipment sales rentals limits the sale, retail, wholesale, or rental of premises autos that are less than 10,000 pounds. And then the motor vehicle repair general, meaning heavy equipment or bodywork, painting, major repairs to passenger vehicles and such. These are the controlling related cases. This is a renewal for a special use permit. So it came before the CPC in 2019 in 2 separate special use permits, similarly to what we have now. So we have light equipment sales and rental outdoor, which was approved by the BZA in September 10th, 2019. And then same date, but they approved motor vehicle repair general as well. I'm going to go through and show you, this is the site from 2019. This is our street view in 2019. And then I'll show you the conditions that were put on the case, the SUPs back in 2019. 2 of them were from Lucas Casper that I wanted to highlight. One was said that if sidewalks are to be replaced, that the developer shall submit plans from the Land Development Division and obtain permits to construct sidewalks. The reason I want to point this out is because those sidewalks were not repaired or replaced, and we'll get through with that. Another one was that the developer shall basically consolidate the lots. As you could see in that previous site aerial image from Parcel Viewer, there were 4 lots actually on the site. So there was a condition then that required that the lot consolidation, that the lots be consolidated. That can be done by deed now. 2 of them by our planner back then was paint the chain link fence black, and that the special use permit was limited to 5 years, which is why we're seeing it now in 2024. So now I'll go through some images of our site. As we can see, the fence was replaced to be wrought iron. It's 6 feet tall, and there's plenty of cars out there. This is the sidewalk on Gladstone Avenue, which was not prepared, but is proposed to be prepared in these current plans. This is the north half of the parking lot through the fence. You can see the parking lot is not paved. There's no striping. That was something that was addressed in the staff report as well. Here's an image of the rolling gate on Gladstone Avenue, which is proposed on the plans. And then here's the sidewalk on East 9th Street and the rolling gate on East 9th Street, not mentioned on the plans. These are evidence of vehicles larger than 10,000 pounds on the site. These will need to be removed if it's going to be held to the standards of light equipment sales and rental. This is a view of what we believe was the dumpster on the east half of the property on the other side of the building. Not actually on the site, but it is noted on the plans that it's going to be screened. And then here's another image. There is a dumpster on the west half of the building in the parking lot that is not screened, and it was unmarked on the plans as well. These are all from a development compliance site visit that happened on the 22nd of October. These are the plans that were submitted in 2019 and also this go around with this special use permit. There were 2 trees on the north half of the lot. There were spaces notated on the plans which need to be paved and then were not actually drawn out. They were not actually placed and painted. This was their landscape plan. And then this is what was provided this year. You can see there is landscaping on the Gladstone Avenue side for the motor vehicle screening. And then more landscaping on the north side to the alley, and then screening along the dumpster as well on the east half of the lot or east half of the building. It is going to be paved. There are more lots, more parking spaces provided. There's not a rolling fence on the East 9th Street area that is notated. But there is a rolling gate on the Gladstone Avenue. And then also there's proposed use is the motor vehicle repair general on the inside of the building, and then the light equipment sales and rental outdoor in the parking lot area. I have highlighted here the proposed use of motor vehicle repair general and that little kind of jut out on the building that goes west towards Gladstone Avenue. The proposed use of that is motor vehicle repair general. And the reason I'm highlighting it is because there is evidence of a wall being there that was built out at some point. And then this would be there where the wall ends. But when you zoom in, that part of the building is not actually constructed the way that it seems to be shown on the plan. I don't know for sure. I did not get to step into the lot and see that, but it looks to be that the plans show a lot more than what currently is there. And then the specific review criteria, the proposed plan does comply with the applicable standards of the zoning and development code, subject to the conditions. There will need to be an outdoor lighting plan, and the special use permit will need to be bringing the property into compliance per the conditions in the staff report. I also have some extra conditions that were added after publishing of the staff report. So those being that all landscaping proposed shall be constructed and or installed as notated in the plans by the time of the next renewal for the special use permit. That no vehicles over 10,000 pounds shall be parked on the lot to conform with the light equipment sales definition. The developer shall screen all dumpsters, even the one on the west side of the building in the parking lot area. And the developer shall pave and repair the parking lot on the north half and the south half of the lot. And then these are my extra conditions. These are the same conditions, plus one that just kind of reinforces the one that was done in 2019 that says the developer shall combine the 4 lots by deed. This one will be added to the staff report as well. But the recommendation is approval with conditions following these conditions.
What was that last condition again?
That the developer shall combine the 4 lots by deed.
So condition 5.
Yep.
Okay.
And that is similar to what was required in the conditions back in 2019. So. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I got a question for staff.
Do you have a condition for the sidewalks?
The sidewalks are notated in the plans so that the section for condition number 1, where I say all landscaping proposed shall be constructed and or installed, I kind of would say that is accounting for the sidewalk, considering they had the landscaping on the sidewalks, as well as on the plans, it was notated that there would be repairs for the sidewalks.
What was the difference from the plan, the 2019, and they didn't do it? And now, so they didn't.
Yeah, the sidewalks were not repaired in 2019 up until now. and there wasn't any plan to repair them back in 2019.
Okay.
So this go around, we're requiring that they do repair them and provide landscaping on Gladstone Avenue.
So that was going to be my question for staff. And I'm looking it up now, but so it's recommended approval with conditions. But if they haven't complied to the initial review 5 years ago, right, 2019, why would it be approval, recommendation for approval if they couldn't comply in 5 years?
I mean, I guess we're holding them to that standard this time around. I mean, this one is also in, I think
I think that's
there's a condition, I think it's number 7 on it's different for each staff report because there's 2 staff reports, but there's a condition that says that this special use permit is for 2 years, and if the applicant does not comply with those in those 2 years, that the special use permit will be revoked. So
technically it should have been revoked.
it
3
should
years
have
ago?
been, no, the original one was permitted for 5 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was permitted for 5 years in the 2019 staff report. I should have added that to my presentation and or staff report, but the conditions in 2019 were for 5 years.
There's also for staff, is it an open case on the property right now from 2020? Is that still open?
A development compliance case?
It's yeah, development compliance case. It says people living inside business building.
If it's from 2020, I doubt it's still open.
It opened. Oh, I guess it was closed. Okay, a week later. Okay, there we go. I didn't see that. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from commission to the staff?
Right now, is the business is open?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm George Nyrzell, the architect and applicant. My address is 4227 Bell, Kansas City, Missouri 64111. Mr. Jason Lopez is here with me in the audience today. He's the owner. We sought and were granted the 2 supplemental use permits in 2019. As you may be aware, shortly after that, the pandemic came along and the business tanked or plummeted, let's say. And Mr. Lopez paused the repairs as he was waiting to see how the business was going to do. And the business has slowly come back. And he is certainly well aware that there are conditions that need to be still met. The combination of the lots is underway, and Mr. Lopez is aware that we need to screen the dumpsters, pave the parking lot, remove the non-permitted vehicles, and construct the landscaping. I want to note that we didn't believe that the public sidewalks were an issue in 2019, and our plan from 2019 shows restore grass strip in the right of way. But we didn't refer to the sidewalks. I want to read from the conditions of 2019 from Mr. Casper, Lucas Casper. He said, if sidewalks are to replace, the developer shall submit plans to Land Development Department and construct associated ADA ramps. As I said, we didn't believe that there was an issue, and that nobody pointed out that the condition of the sidewalks was not acceptable to the city. So this is kind of news to us at this point. But Mr. Lopez has sold cars and repaired cars. As in September, when the SUPs expired, he paused or ceased repair and sales at the site, and he is also he's taken good care of the building and has repaired and upgraded other buildings in the neighborhood. And we have the support of the Independence Pleasant Neighborhood Committee or Council, I'm sorry. And they have understood that he's working with the neighborhood and involved in the neighborhood. And he cleans up his lot and cleans up after the homeless people. And they are in support of his continuing and receiving the SUP renewals.
So it sounds like you guys took it upon yourself to determine whether or not the sidewalks are in good shape or not? Is that what I heard?
Well, nobody brought it to our attention in 2019 that there was any issue of requiring the sidewalk repair, and I don't see that they're any worse than any other on 9th Street or in the neighborhood, and certainly safe but I don't know if there's been an assessment made by anybody at the city that they're not in compliance with the required condition.
Yeah, I think it's just part of the review by a professional that's helping the applicant out. They take it upon themselves to look at. I'm just looking at pictures of the sidewalk itself. It's broken. It's got grass growing up in there. It looks like it's in pretty bad shape to me. And you got to start somewhere. You know, if you're wanting to do a project in Kansas City, it's just a matter of taking that pride in the city and doing your part. So I'm kind of with Commissioner Arkin on this. A lot of stuff didn't get completed back in the earlier when the SUP was given, and now we're asking for an extension on this. I'm not sure if I've got confidence whether or not some of these items are going to be taken care of that are listed in the conditions. Can you help explain to us that they will be taken care of?
I can't guarantee that wouldn't be prudent, but I know that Mr. Lopez understands that these are conditions and that he will prioritize those and bring them hopefully to fruition as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so you're looking at operating the business as is, and then if the SUP does get renewed, it's a 2-year deal. So if it doesn't get, all these items don't get done, you understand that the SUP will go.
Correct.
It'd be void.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, we understand that.
well, at the end of the 2 years, will somebody from the city be available to go see the site or look at it between now and then?
Yeah, we can make sure that our compliance division goes and checks it out after 2 years.
Okay.
I have a question. Is it Mr. Casper that we should contact as far as a determination on each section of sidewalk, or what's the process?
I take as an architect, that's part of your responsibility to do, to note what should be replaced and get repaired. Mr. Casper will take a look at and permit the sidewalks themselves for you to do the work.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Travis Kiefer with KC Water. Yeah, due to the recent changes made with that comment was made when Luke was part of Land Development Division, and now those duties have been split up a little bit. So typically what will happen is a letter from a registered professional engineer will outline the condition of those sidewalks, and then permits will be pulled subsequently to that letter, and that would be a minor infrastructure application through Public Works at this point.
Okay. And so it's only a registered engineer, can a licensed architect or landscape architect do the same letter?
Typically that comes from an engineer. That's our typical condition.
Okay.
The original condition was from Luke Casper, but there's an updated condition attached to this SUP from Terry Thomas that addresses this.
Okay. Okay. I was just trying to figure out and make sure I understand too, the licensed person that can do that letter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission to the applicant?
I want to, well, it's maybe for staff again. I just want to be clear what was requested in 2019 and what was actually completed. It was this change of the fence.
Yeah.
And what else?
It was the change of the fence, the paving, the two trees on the north corner of the lot.
That have been
northwest,
completed.
that have not been completed.
No, so what was completed?
The only thing that was completed, as far as I can see, is the fence.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my concern here, and I just want to put it on record, is that yes, I understand 2020 was COVID and that happened, but there are some conditions on this that could be, done inexpensively to start. Some of the things of like the vehicles that are on that lot. I do drive by that lot pretty often. And there's like boats and all types of vehicles that are not intended for that, which is one thing that could have been taken care of at no cost. So in an effort, knowing that this was going to come back at this point for renewal, it would be expected that the applicant would have taken some steps in hardship to do the things that would have been free or at no cost. My concern here is that we give another, if we were to approve this and give another 2 years, there's another financial hardship, and they're reaching out for another 2 years after that, which, so it's just, I think that there could have been more of an effort made to meet some of these requirements. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, let's move to public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items number 4 or 5, please come forward or use your, raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else to add from the applicant standpoint on this?
No, sir.
Okay. So with that, we'll close testimony then, speak amongst the commission. Otherwise, if there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion.
Can we shorten the term?
2 years is about as short as you want to go, simply because once they get the BZA approval, they still have permitting and stuff to go through and then get the construction done. So I
Can
think
they-
that's about as minimum as you want to go. That's my opinion.
Can we continue?
Why do we want to continue?
I don't know. Do you still have those vehicles, the over 10,000 pounds on site?
Yes.
I think that's part of the conditions, to get their thing that they
But they
just
will
take
have-
care of it over the next 2 years.
Like, obviously, I understand the COVID, and I don't wanna put a business out of business, right? But at the same time, I agree that in 5 years, nothing was done. So I was just like, like if they show some effort on trying to comply, but
I guess I have another question. If we were to deny it today, and then they were to go back, do some improvements and then reapply, they could do that, right?
Well, it goes to the BZA.
It would still go to
BZA.
BZA.
Right,
You're
yeah.
making a recommendation to the
Right, but if the
BZA.
BZA denied it, right? Could they reapply for the special use permit?
I believe, yes, there might be a time period in which they can't.
I guess the question is, what is that time period?
I think whoever's speaking doesn't have a microphone.
We're looking
No
it
one's
up.
speaking.
Nobody's
They're doing some,
Okay.
some looking.
Good to know. I thought you all were getting a good explanation about something and I was missing out.
Yeah, there doesn't appear to be, they could reapply and would
But-
have to come back
Through us,
through you.
through the whole process.
Through the whole process.
To me, I think, so it's hard for everybody through that time frame. And Everybody deserves a second chance to try to get it right. 2 years is not that long on something like this to get the improvements made, and then certainly, hopefully they move forward with that, because, you know, they got to spend some time and effort to do that, and would show that they've got good faith with that. And if not, then after 2 years, you could not approve their.
I was gonna say, yeah, two years seems like a pretty short time. And I think with the changes that are required for this, it'd be pretty evident, if those were not adhered to within that 2 year time frame. So I'm kind of leaning in favor of approving it now, but then waiting to see if those substantial changes have been made further on down the
I
line.
think the applicant wants to say something.
Yeah.
Let me clarify, those RVs and the boats, my personal use, those are not for sale. Just put in there because that's the only space that has to park it.
Yeah, even so, this is a business site, and that's what's asked, is not to have those kind of vehicles on there. So you're gonna have to find a different place for that.
I know we're saying 2 years is a short time, but if, as a resident around there, that's 2 more years that, you know, this, after 5 years. So,
Yep.
But I guess what changes if we deny it?
As long as you understand, right? Like,
I
you
understand, but
like,
taking in mind that everything costs a lot of money. So I cannot do everything at once.
right. But you understand, like, for
And I've been
example,
improving the building, I've been improving everything around. I own field properties on the neighborhood. I keep everything to look nicer. So I've been in the neighborhood for more than 34 years.
there was mention that there was support from the neighborhood. I didn't see anything.
There was a letter or not a letter, there was the neighborhood agenda in the staff report that shared it.
But did it say that it was in support of this?
It didn't necessarily say if it was in support or not, but
You had mentioned that they had given support.
I don't have the letter here with me, but we understood that they were supporting us.
Orestein was on that. So I wish she was here to say if it was in support or not.
If you
I need-
see page 12 of the PDF of the staff report, under number 15, guest speaker. We as a neighborhood recommend 3 to 5 years for the supplemental use permit and would expect him to be an active participant at neighborhood meetings.
Under guest speaker
Yeah,
It's on page 12 of the PDF
of
of
That-
the packet.
that meeting packet. Yeah.
Their October 2024 meeting agenda, the second page of that attachment. It's under number 15, guest speaker, which is at the bottom of page 11.
Item IX on page 12 of the packet at the top.
Yeah, I'm looking at page. Oh, okay. Isn't it? Oh, okay. I didn't see. Okay. That was hidden in there.
There is also a letter. I thought we uploaded that, or maybe we just sent it to.
Okay.
yeah.
They say it, then.
Ready for a motion, please?
Well, let me clarify just before, we're just doing docket item number 4, or is this
4 and 5.
4
4
and
and
5
5.
together? Okay.
Yeah.
Then Chair Carr, I move to approve docket items, number 4 and 5, both with conditions as stated in the docket.
Well, see, docket item 4 has some changes to 3, 8, 9, and 10, correct?
That's both docket items.
Both item
Yeah.
are 3, 8, 9, and 10.
And then it has an additional.
3, 8,
condition
9, and
number
10,
12.
and yeah.
And then what's the number 5 one? Off of which item?
Then they both should have the same additional
Yeah.
conditions.
It's at condition 5 is the additional, right?
Yep.
Which is.
Well, on one, it says number 5, bicycle parking be installed.
That's true.
Um,
The other
Yeah,
ones-
the conditions, when you print the documents, when you print the plan conditions for each different case, they came out in different orders, but the conditions are all the same.
Yeah,
I
but-
think what's been advertised and what we're looking at, that's what we need to use
Mhm.
for this approval.
Which condition is it on the ones that we have printed? Because I'm not seeing it.
So the ones that you have printed are The developer shall submit an affidavit prepared by an engineered licensed state of Missouri. That's should be number 1 if you're looking at SCP 35. The developer shall submit an affidavit completed by landscape architect. Let's see.
But yeah, what was the one that was, the 5 was only a one-liner right there, whatever it was.
Bicycle. parking.
5 was, yeah, bicycle parking.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at docket item 4 and you're updating item 1. Is that right?
I'm just adding these 3 conditions really should be non-numbered when
Okay, so
mentioned
the
in
14,
the motion.
15 and 16 is what you're adding.
Yeah.
Okay, so 14 is what, less than 10,000 pounds?
Yeah.
On site, 15 is dumpsters related,
Yes.
and 16 would be paving the lot.
Correct.
You have those, so that would be what you have there, so 3 would become 14. 8 is 15,
Mhm.
9 is 16. Does that make sense?
Clear as mud.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and say,
With conditions and then adding conditions number.
If it makes it easier, you could
Also-
just say the condition, you'd like to approve the SUPs per the conditions in the staff report with the additional conditions
Well, because that's what I'm saying, like, so right
listed in
there,
the
Yeah.
presentation.
number 5, the developer shall combine the 4 lots by deed.
Yeah.
I don't see that anywhere in our.
Yeah, that's just in this presentation.
So that would be,
That's-
18 on 5
So
and,
you're adding the 5 conditions, so with conditions and adding the 5 as stated.
there we go.
Okay, so now you get to amend your motion.
yeah, give me a second. So I'm probably gonna mess this up, so work with me with.
I'll help you
the-
out.
So amending the emotion to approve docket items, numbers 4 and 5, with the addition of, docket items, so 14, 15, and 16?
Not docket items, you're adding, you're adding
Conditions 14,
conditions.
15, and 16.
5 can just say these 5 conditions as stated in the,
Okay.
Staff report.
yeah, staff.
All right, well then, we'll amend the motion to, approve docket items 4 and 5, with conditions stated with the addition of, condition number 1, that all landscaping proposed in the plan shall be constructed and or installed as noted in the landscape plan. By the time the next renewal special use, permit, added with, condition number 2, no vehicles over 10,000 pounds shall be parked on the lot or with lighting equipment, sales definition. Condition number 3, developer shall, screen all dumpsters in accordance, to the 88-42508. Condition 4, developer shall pave and repair the parking lot on the north half, and south half of the lot. And condition number 5, developer shall, combine the 4 lots by deed.
Per the staff report.
For staff report.
Okay. So I've got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items number 4 and 5 with the addition of the 5 conditions as stated through the testimony. So Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Before I answer, I'm going to say this to the applicant. I'm supporting this because of what the neighborhood is saying. I just ask in good faith that you guys start the process so that we can see change. Specifically the things that are free to do. But yes, aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Passick,
Aye.
Halia.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for approval of it with the addition of the conditions stated.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You said this is staff report.
All right, so let's move on to docket item number 6, please.
Case CD ROW 2024-24. a request to approve a vacation of public right-of-way in District M1-5/US on about 30,000 square feet generally located at North Winchester Drive between North Corrington Avenue and North Bennington Avenue.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Good morning, Matthew Barnes with docket item number 6, the vacation of right-of-way for North Winchester Avenue. This site is located in the Northland, just adjacent to Interstate 435. Here's a closer view here yet. You can see Worlds of Fun to the north east of the site, the Missouri River to the south, and its location to 435 just east of the site, highlighted in yellow. Here's just a view of that site looking from Harvin Road. And here is the survey of that. There are a few utility conditions. The first is from staff to require that either a cross-access easement or the lots are consolidated so that all lots retain their legal access to public right-of-way. There's currently 3 lots within that. The applicant can kind of speak more on why they're consolidating or what they're doing with that right-of-way. Second is from Evergy to retain all utility easements and to protect the facilities. And KCMO Water Services is requiring that they abandon or privatize the sewers and obtain a permit for the water line relocation and obtain a permit for fire hydrant location. With that, staff recommends approval with conditions for docket item number 6, and I can take any questions.
All right, any questions for city staff? All right, let's welcome the applicant then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jacob Hodson with Olson. We're at 1301 Burlington in North Kansas City. I'm representing Midway Ford today in their application. This project will vacate the right-of-way of Winchester, which is owned, one side is owned by Midway Ford and the other is by Hunt Midwest. Midway Ford intends to purchase all of that land going forward and then expand their vehicle staging area, which was approved by this commission in 2023 under 00023 for vehicle staging and their upfitting facility. And so once this becomes vacated, the land purchase will go through, and then we will come to the board, to this committee and commission in the next few months with a development plan for expansion of that facility.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that wants to speak regarding docket item number 6, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. We'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just ask that you approve this right-of-way vacation. Thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowe, I move to approve docket item number 6 with conditions stated.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 6 with conditions stated. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
I came in on the middle, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes in 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, ready for docket item 7-1 and 7-2.
Case CD CPC 2024-133, a request to approve an area plan amendment to the Red Bridge area plan from residential low density to residential medium density on about 13.43 acres for the parcels east of Holmes Road, bounded between East 115th Street on the north and East 117th Street on the south, beginning at the east right-of-way line of Holmes Road and extending east between 377 feet at East 117th Street, 518th feet at the widest point, and 423 feet at East 115th Street. And CD CPC 2024-134, a request to approve a rezoning from District R 7.5 to District MPD and approving a preliminary development plan acting as a preliminary plat on about 17.24 acres generally located at the southeast corner of Holmes Road and East 115th Street.
All right, Larissa Chambi, City Planning and Development. I will share my screen and we can get started. Didn't do that right. 1 second. As was previously mentioned, this is for 115th and Holmes for a rezoning to MPD and area plan amendment. And let me know if it's changing on everyone's screen. Great. Okay. The subject property is located in the south of the city in the Red Bridge area. This is the project area. As you can see, there's approximately 19 parcels that are part of this project area and a few that have been cut out. So just a little more understanding, there's a variety of zoning districts throughout the area. The property is currently zoned R75, and they're requesting to be rezoned to MPD. You can see there's higher densities to the west of Holmes and then lower densities to the east. This is the proposed area plan amendment. It is a split amendment to the Red Bridge area plan. This section in blue is proposed to be amended to medium density to keep a lower density closer to the existing neighborhoods across the street from Campbell, and then keeping the majority of the density closer to Holmes. The subject or the development is proposing 39 different buildings with a diversity of building types. We have single family residences, 2-unit and 4-unit buildings. It does comply with that area plan amendment showing those single family and 2 units closer to Campbell and keeping those 4-unit structures closer to Holmes. On this site plan, you can see that there's private alleys located throughout the development. Those private alleys will keep those garages facing the alleys, so keeping all those street or all the cars behind the structures. And there is a proposed new entrance off of Holmes, and then 2 new entrances, one off East 115th and East 117th.
Hey, Larissa.
Yeah.
Is there a way you get that big giant box
Yeah,
off of the?
There's a little box.
There.
I think it's on Larissa's computer.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I will try to move forward. Anyway.
Okay. Sorry. Thank
That's
you.
okay. Moving on, this is the landscape plan that was provided. They are providing a buffer throughout the entire development, and then everything in between the units is proposed to be sod or native grasses. And then I do have elevations for each of the building types. This is the 4-unit. All of the building types are proposed to be brick. And here is the 2-unit. You can see the different heights and the architectural details throughout with some Juliet balconies as well. And then here is the proposed single-family dwelling unit. Here is the view from the north looking, or from Holmes. Here you can see 115th Street. And then from the south, and this is 117th Street. And then from Campbell. And then just, this is on Holmes. You can see that there's a few structures. Those will be removed. A majority of those are boarded up and vacant. And then just one more time from the south of Holmes. There are a couple conditions to modify in the staff report. I did mention the applicant would need to work with the Transportation and Development Committee. Since they are platting the project, we can just go through that condition with a waiver. And so condition number 14 would be changed to the language in red, which would be approving a waiver to the requirement for street improvements in accordance to section 8840503 to exclude the requirement for curb and gutter on the north half of East 117th Street and to require no improvements on the west half of Campbell Street. And then condition 40 is kind of the companion case to 14 that was placed by the Land Development Division, updating it to show that the waiver would be in effect for the west half of Campbell and the north half of East 117th, and then adding a sentence to ensure that if the waiver is approved, that those streets be improved as the waiver states. And then just adding condition 60, which would add that language onto the preliminary plat sheet prior to ordinance request, so we can follow through with it as it moves through the process. And I can go back to the site plan if you'd like.
Yeah,
to see
please
it.
go back to that.
Yeah.
Just want to take a look at what,
So there will be half street improvements on East 115th Street. Campbell will remain as it is. Currently, there's no sidewalk, but there are driveway accesses off of Campbell. Those will be removed since all of the driveways will now be focused from the alley. And then on 117th Street, there will be a sidewalk provided, but no curb and gutter. And so that's what that waiver is requesting.
any improvements to homes?
There will be improvements. Their traffic impact study did show some turn lanes added, and then there is a current sidewalk as well. And so that will be retained.
How far did the traffic study go? Is it only limited from 115th to 117th?
I'll let the applicant answer that.
Okay. I think the other thing I would have is the other requested deviations that are on sheet CO of the plans. I'd like to hear from water services on the sanitary and public water lines, and then from Public Works on the flowable fill requirement on those.
Kobe, can I go back to I forget the number because she changed it, the section not requiring curbs and sidewalks?
88, actually I have it. 88, 405. Sorry, I don't know it by heart. 4050311.
So why are we excluding curbs and gutters?
I will let the applicant answer that as well.
And
Okay.
for staff, so with that being said, the civil plan that's explaining like stormwater and all that kind of stuff, they've got those two ponds, right? Is it 2 detention ponds?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let the applicant. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for city staff?
We could just go back to condition 60.
Oh.
And this is in addition, okay.
Okay. Commissioner Beasley or Enders, do you have any questions for staff?
That was my only one.
Okay, I'll give you time.
And I can go back to the site plan if you just to have it up if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. From water online, or do you want to move forward with the applicant?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move forward with
Okay.
the applicant, and then we'll go through questions at that time.
Well, hello. Thank you for
morning.
having us,
Yep.
members of the commission. My name is Patrick Joyce. I'm with Kimley Horn. We're at 805 Pennsylvania in Kansas City, Missouri. Also with me today is Al Atha with Iron Door Development. He is our project architect. Also online, we have members of the ownership team. So if there's any additional questions, they can be promoted to panelists if they would. So I have a short little presentation here to kind of hopefully go over some of the questions that came up here. This this presentation was very close to the ones that was presented at the two neighborhood meetings we had. We had two actually. We had one virtual, and then we had another one in person. So several people showed up at both. So happy to see all the public engagement there. I'll try and just skip over the stuff that was already mentioned. But so this is the site plan. I heard some questions on detention. I think pretty good job was done of explaining the way this thing works. We do have a public road that runs, a new public road that's going to connect between 115th and 117th, and then another road that public road that's going to connect directly off of Holmes to connect to our new street. It was brought up what's going to happen on Holmes Road. Our traffic study did look at all of our intersections through here. We did find the need for a left-hand turn at each one. That drove, when we took a look at the geometry out there, I think if you've ever been out to this area, you'll note that there's a right turn lane that comes up here and dives into this intersection that's kind of I would say a bit of an oddity where it separates and goes into two different directions. We're taking out that and actually expanding the road beyond that, where we're going to generate this left turn lane, or sorry, this additional through lane, in order to generate a continuous left turn lane, which will actually be able to be utilized by both sides, both directions of both north and south traffic on Holmes to make left-hand turns. I think it's like I said, the detention basins were mentioned. We do have two detention basins, one in the southwest corner and a much larger one up in the northeast corner. Those drain out to existing ditches. They were designed to match the pre-existing conditions of the site.
So before you move on
Yes.
the roadway, the improvements are just limited to right in front of your development.
They are. We not 100%. So what we do is obviously we have to taper back in after this. So that actually goes down to the next intersection. We couldn't go much further than that just because that's really what, you don't want to be tapering through an intersection. So
What about north?
so north we are restriping because what's happening is you've got this kind of through lane that's existing right now. So what we have is this continuous left-hand turn lane is a through lane right now. So we're restriping on down the road so that we're actually pushing traffic into our new through lane to make accommodations for this new left-hand turn lane.
Yeah, because I think as you head southbound on Holmes, there's a dedicated right turn lane and then a dedicated through lane, and then you got a dedicated northbound. So the restriping is going to occur so that the dedicated southbound is going to be a dual right turn as well as through.
So it'll serve as a right turn. Yes. So you can do the right turn off of this, but it'll be a through lane through as you go through the development and then taper back in.
Okay, so that'll be done north of 115th, maybe up to the south of Minor Drive.
Yeah, we'll of course follow the MUTCD and everything that we have to do to just taper it in to make sure we have the appropriate lengths to do the taper.
Okay.
But sorry, it's not shown on this graphic, but it does go up. Not quite that far, but it does taper. I want to say it tapers in before you get to the YMCA there. So, okay. Other questions that came up were regarding some of the geometry that exists out here today. So 117th Street, which is this road right here, one of the major reasons we're requesting that modification for not putting curb and gutter on here, but we are supplying a sidewalk because we do recognize the need for better mobility on that street. But when this road was constructed, normally we'd have to do a half street improvements just on the north side. That road is actually constructed while the right of way width might be correct for the use of that road. It's actually pushed all the way up against the right of way on the north side. So that's why we've, the sidewalk, even we're dedicating ground from our development in order to place the sidewalk, because there literally wouldn't even be enough room to put that in between the existing road and still maintain drainage and such. So we're actually putting that sidewalk on our property, putting an easement across it so that you can access that. On Campbell, basically our idea is just try and leave Campbell alone. We're taking traffic off of it. We've all these drives that have accessed it, we're pulling those off and putting those back on our alleyway, so as to get those out of there. Now on 115th, we are doing, that road, it needs improvement, obviously. So, we are proposing to do that. We have the rooms there, none of the similar conditions exist. So that's those three. This is just some of the platted for utility easements and such.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Where the property line jogs, what is there that's causing that on the south side?
This
Yeah.
over here?
No, it's like sort of middle of development.
Oh, this one. Okay, so sorry. So I should note that we've rotated it so that north is to the.
Oh, okay.
So this is a property. This is a property owner this is a property we don't control.
Okay.
So. Okay, and we went over this slide. Just important to note here that we are trying to keep the denser portions of this up towards homes, and then do a transition from the 4 units to more the single family and the duplex as we transition back into single family. It is a phased development, so we're looking at you're looking at the green being the first phase, which would be the infrastructure and the stormwater improvements. The blue that you see there is phase 2, and then the final is the red that you see. I'll turn it over here to Al to kind of go over some of the elevations and such.
Al Atha with Iron Door Development, architect. What we tried to achieve was go with a townhome concept. And the townhome concept is breaking into 3 different building types. The biggest building is the 4-plex, which consists of 3 floors. The first floor is a 2-car garage accessible from the alley, along with 1 bedroom or an office or studio. The second floor is kind of a wide open loft style space with kitchen, living room combined with the use of a stair to break the 2 areas up. Now, they're flexible enough that we can work with future owners in laying out exactly what they want. And then the third floor is 2 bedrooms and 2 baths on each of them, and they run about 1,700 square feet. The duplexes are basically very similar to the 4-plexes. It's just a 1-car garage off the alley, and the living dining is also on the ground floor with 2 bedrooms and 2 baths upstairs. And then the single family is a 3-bedroom house, approximately 2,100 square feet. What we try to do with the exterior is use all brick to keep it consistent through the 3 building types. We accent the building types through brick detailing, use of soldier roll-lock coursing, setting bricks in and out to create small shadow lines, and then also the architectural stepping back so that there are clearly defined 4 units. And that same detailing occurs on the 4-plex and the duplex. And then the single family is basically all brick with a higher pitched roof to kind of catch the architecture, the period of when townhomes really started to develop. So basically the development reads as a whole between the 3 building types, and we think we've achieved that. So with that.
Okay, thank you, Al.
A single family, they just one floor, or they're two floors.
They were single floor, yes.
Okay, and finally, we have this slide, just a little bit more of a graphical representation of the greenness of the site and where we're going to be placing trees and such, as well as the trees that we're preserving. So I'll leave this slide up and hopefully answer any questions that you guys have. We have looked through the stipulations. Of course, we agree to the stipulations as you have them, and as well as the modified ones. So stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the questions from the commissioners first.
I'll go ahead and start, Colby.
Let her go first. Yeah.
I'm not seeing where visitor parking is addressed.
So when it comes to parking, every unit has a 2-car garage. Then we also have the slabs, the parking slab that's out front here. So
each floorplex consists of 2 garage parking and then a concrete apron outside the garage that could accommodate 2 cars. It's set back, the building is set far back. So really you have available 4 parking spaces for the fourplex.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of tight when you have holidays coming up and you're saying 2 carloads of family can only come. There's nowhere else they can go and park.
Well,
Is there any street parking in here anywhere?
There's parking that could occur in the alleyways also, perpendicular to the units or the apron parking. So yes.
And then my other one is just a comment / question on the floor plans. I didn't see where you had laundry facilities. Is there washer dryer hookups on here?
Yes. On the fourplex, right in the middle floor plan, directly above the stairway, there's washer dryer and then a half bath.
But the bedrooms are on the 2nd level.
Yes. Or on the 3rd level.
Third level.
Well, I wasn't counting the garage level. Okay, that seems a little awkward, but those are my only questions. Main one was, well, I'll go back to the curbs and sidewalks. I know that's always a hot button with neighborhoods when they apply for PIAC funding, is to get curbs and sidewalks in. So what type of discussion did the neighborhood raise about you not installing sidewalks?
Well, we are installing sidewalks in countless locations through the site, because what we're actually doing, one of the big features that we have, at least internal to the site, is we're doing a shared purpose alleyway where we actually we have the required width of the alleyway, but we're actually utilizing a dual colored system where we have a full depth what appears to be a sidewalk for walking purposes on both sides of a single lane. But then of course, when a car comes, they can, there's no difference in elevation between the traveled way, the darker colored pavement, and then the lighter colored where the pedestrians are assumed to be walking, so that they can actually pass. So it's kind of what we call it, that kind of a shared access way. Now, we do have sidewalks on both sides of all of our public streets, and as we mentioned, we did put them down 115th. There's also a sidewalk that runs both sides of homes, and then of course, like we mentioned on on 117th, we are adding that sidewalk that's on our property, and then on Campbell itself. Again, we're pulling off traffic and we're just kind of leaving Campbell as it is. And to answer your questions, I'll let the neighbor I didn't get any real comments from the neighborhood necessarily on those, so I'll let them speak to that.
So you're saying on Campbell, the condition is related to only that portion of the development?
So when it comes to sidewalks, yes, we are requesting that just because we are pulling off our traffic onto Campbell, that we are allowed to just basically leave Campbell as is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Yeah, what's the buffer that you're gonna have on these properties that you don't control, and basically they're kind of like inside the project? So on the north corner, and then the big one right there.
So basically here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, you mean like a buffer from development, or so we're basically I guess to the closest building 20 feet. So just to kind of set a general setback. We've also got, we're like I said, we're preserving all the trees that we can in that are around, especially around those properties. That's what you can see in some of these larger trees here that were identified. So
Yeah, so for example, in that property, like like basically in the backyard, they're gonna have a new street going, right? So are you are you gonna do any screening, or like?
we do propose street trees that run up and down the new road.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no fencing anywhere within this development?
There is fencing around the pool area as required by code. So at this point, that's all that's really been identified.
I've got a question for staff. On that first sheet C1, it kind of shows all of the tree coverage canopy that's being removed in red, or as a mitigated in red. They have to pay an impact fee for that, right? Didn't we talk about it?
They have the tree preservation, they'll have to work through that as part of the project.
And there is the correction that's left over. There's a couple numbers that don't quite align, but it shouldn't impact the amount of mitigation. It's just making sure that they align with what staff got and what the applicant got. They are still required to provide that plan.
Okay.
Chair Crowell, I'll add a few comments. I just want to thank the applicant for the project because I think it's a really good looking project. I like seeing this type of product. I don't think we have enough of it in the city, and I think this was a good choice of where it went. Hopefully the neighbors that didn't want to part with their property, can manage okay, and perhaps maybe you all can fill it in later. But besides that one hiccup, it seems like a really great project.
Okay.
Did you have questions for Public Works and Water?
I
Nick
did.
Bossinetto has had his hand up for a little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, I know we don't have any comment or say on any of the waivers. That's done by council, but I'm just curious on Public Works and Water, that they notice those waivers. Sometimes they, get overlooked. So I'm just curious if they saw them and had any comment on any of those.
Yeah, I had a question about those waivers. Could you go back to the slide where you had the waivers?
So that sheet wasn't included in the PowerPoint, but it is in the staff report. Okay. I can pull up let's see if I can grab it.
Yeah, just for discussion. And I guess my other question, I thought we met with fire department and we had discussed the alleyways because some of the buildings only have access through the alleyways.
And the fire department did receive a second review and approved that review with conditions.
Okay, and what were their conditions?
There's a few, starting with condition 15 through 27. And those also include aerial access and the materials for the roads as well.
And as a result of that, we did reduce the height of the buildings to 30 feet so that we could avoid the aerial access comments.
Okay, yeah, I do recall that discussion. Yeah, so I think Public Works, we were very happy that they're gonna build sidewalks on on the three sides and then carry that second lane on Holmes to the south. Those were good improvements. I think the alleyways was kind of an issue, but if the fire department is okay with it now, the only thing we do tell people is Public Works does not provide services on alleyways. No trash collection on alleyways, things like that. But yeah, so what were the conditions? I think the waiver.
Yeah, they've got some requested deviations on sheet C0 of their,
And I have it up on the screen now and I can zoom in. Just
Yeah,
give me
she
1
can-
second.
zoom in on those. So I think the ones that are for Public Works are item 1, the section, which I think we've talked about, number 4, and maybe number 5, but
Yes, and typically those go to the Transportation Development Committee, the TDC.
Okay.
I think I saw something there due to the current.
can you zoom in on that to make it?
Yeah, so 117th Street, we're gonna put the sidewalk on the other side of the ditch. And there was gonna be a public easement over the sidewalk. Global fill requirement. Yeah, so those things do, and then the lighting levels. Yeah, so all those three things would have to go in front of the Transportation Development Committee. That wouldn't be something that City Council does. It's something that the TDC would have to approve.
Okay. Do we
That's-
have that covered on one as one of your conditions?
It's not in there, but they're also platting it. And so there is a section of code that also requires it. So the waiver would still be required from council.
Okay, so
I
it'll make its way through just based on what's,
Correct. And I can add a condition that they do go to TDC as well
Okay.
for the 3 that Mr. Bassanetto mentioned. But for the other section that I mentioned, that is a waiver that's required. That would be required to be approved by city council.
okay. Then there's the other ones for the water department,
Correct.
if Travis is available.
Yeah, we would not be in support of 2, 3, or 4. I mean, 4 would impact not only the roadway paving, but any utilities associated with that, as far as what that flowable fill would be used to protect. So we would not support deviations 2, 3, or 4.
Okay, just curious, is there a similar body such as the Public Works has where they can go through the TDC? Is there a similar body like that, excuse me, for water services?
No,
Make a presentation?
typically that would occur through the hearing process, whether it's the neighborhoods, when the preliminary plat goes through. So CPC can make recommendations on those now, and then the ultimate decision then would be made per chapter 88 with the council approval or disapproval, either way they go, of those deviations then.
Okay.
And just to add a little bit more context on those deviations, those really are just based on just helping housing affordability is all. So
Understand.
we can definitely do without them, but they're on there just for that.
Yep, I understand. Okay. Any other questions from the commission to the applicant this time? Okay, so hearing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 7.1 or 7.2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon. Just noting that we will call on those that are here present first, followed by those that are joining us virtually. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Doug Wyatt. I live on 116th Street, which is on the west side of Holmes Road. And yes. Could you go down a little further? Zoning.
No.
Okay.
You make sure you're
this
sharing
is-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Whoops. This is our current zoning and.
You mind speaking into the microphone so those online can hear you? Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Like I said, my name is Doug Wyatt. I live on 116th Street. I have talked with all of my neighbors and they have given me their blessings to represent them at this hearing. We are zoned as R6, single-family residential on minimum 6,000 square foot lots. We have talked, and our concern is primarily the increase in density that we're going to experience if they are going to put multifamily fourplex houses directly adjacent to us. We would ask that from 115th Street Terrace down to the north of East 117th Street, that instead of multifamily fourplexes, that instead those are single family residences. Also, that would be a change in 6 units, I believe. We would also note that according to Kansas City's entry in Municode, that to go from R7, R7.5 to a fourplex multi-residential structure is about a jump in 4 zoning categories. So that's going to be of significant change to us. Also, the height of the buildings is going to be 3 stories, is where the maximum is 2 stories within our cul-de-sac neighborhood. From an R6 district, single-family residential, it's about a 3 category jump. So this would be a very significant change, and we would ask for buffering from that. We would really prefer single-family residences. On the north side of East 115th Terrace, right here, those are duplexes, and we would ask that directly across from those, 1 duplex unit be provided as they have done along Campbell. Could you also, I have another PDF on that, which I would like to share. Could I go back, and that would be scroll down. If you could scroll down a little, staff report. If you could go up. Could you expand the name column? Could you go up a little further? And
Can you help kind of what you're going here? We're spending a lot of time looking for files.
okay, I wanted to show you I had a graphic of our neighborhood and the style of our residences. I'd just like to add that we're a cul-de-sac of very quality, single-family homes, and our primary interest is to maintain that character. And for that reason, we ask for a buffer of single-family homes directly across from our zoning district. Thank you.
Can I just ask for a clarification on one of the, so you're requesting to convert some of the, like some of the quads to single families and duplex. Are you asking to reduce the number of units or to separate the units?
We're asking that the fourplexes instead be single-family residential homes.
Okay, so a reduction in the units then.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Who's next?
My name is Peggy Calhoun. I live at 900 East 117th Street, which is on the corner of Campbell and 117th. So I'm across the street from the development. And I provided copies of this for everybody. And I've added to it since this started. So I'm going to just mention my additions to this. Though I would be opposed to the waiver to not have curbs and gutters on 117th Street. We would need speed bumps. We've needed speed bumps along there for a long time. And we've been told that we can't have speed bumps unless we have curbs and gutters. So we'd want the curbs and gutters. Plus however, they're going to get rid of the water coming out of that detention pond at the corner of 117th and Holmes needs to be addressed. And I'd hate to see all that water going down through the gutter. It should be going into the sewer systems of the street of the city at some point. And also they commented that someone commented that they were putting in sidewalks on 3 sides. There's only 2 sides that they're putting sidewalks in on. Home Street already has sidewalks, which when they put in 3 lanes of road going down that street, they should be getting extremely close to the sidewalk that's already there. So I want to take a look at that. A couple of other comments. First of all, at the meetings, both the online meeting and the in-person meeting, we did bring up the subject of sidewalks on Campbell Street. They said we didn't, but we did. That's a big concern for the neighborhood. And the Holmes turn lane that they're proposing, if there's a center turn lane between 115th Street and 117th Street, there would be 3 left turning areas and 2 right turning areas. So I think that's getting a lot of turning in that short amount of space. It's just a comment I came up with. 115th Street, I'm questioning whether or not they're going to put curbs and gutters on 115th Street. And at what point will trees be removed from the land in phases 2 and 3. Will everything be altered? The lay of the land be altered and trees removed at the same time? Because they might not even get to phase 2 and 3. You know, you just never know how it's going to end up. And that's all my extra comments. But now to my testimony.
Yep, ma'am, you've already exceeded your time. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anything else just real quick to add to this that you have? I mean, I got several items you talked about.
Right.
I-
Well, yeah, there are. I've got regarding the parking, which has already been mentioned. They can put in 3 or 4 or, you know, several areas within their development that have space for 3 or 4 cars or vehicles for people that are visiting, people that are spending the night, whatever.
Okay.
That should be included. Regarding their trash, we don't want to see the trash from Campbell Street. They need to, you know, not have
Okay.
containers, or that needs to be screened, and that's not mentioned anywhere. Pets, we have the possibility of 174 new pets in the area. So I'd like to see them put strategically located pet disposal things, you know, with the plastic bags and the trash containers on 4 corners of their property. Because
Okay.
we're gonna have a lot of dogs in the neighborhood. Campbell Street, they're gonna be cutting into Campbell Street to shut off gas and water to all the units that are currently there. And then they're gonna hook into the current water line going down Campbell Street, which might need improvement. That means they're gonna rip up Campbell Street. And once they do that, they should be putting in sidewalks on Campbell Street, curbs and gutters and sidewalks on Campbell Street. And the last thing is about the detention ponds. When they first had only 4 units that they'd purchased at the corner of 115th and Holmes, they were going to put a detention pond on 115th Street. Now all that water is going to be brought around to the Campbell side, along with the majority of all the water from the entire development into that one detention pond. Currently, water coming through there, when there's a large rain, it's a flood. It's a river running fast through there, going into half of Campbell Street and running across 115th Street. You can't even drive through it. So their plan is to not make it any worse. They need to make it better, not worse. And I would suggest some type of sewer system that goes through there. It carries the water across onto the golf course and into the lake on the golf course, not just flowing over the street on 115th Street. There's more in here. You've got my copy, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Next. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Paola Capra, and I live in 11509 on Campbell. So it's basically in front of the big storm water detention. So I basically, this is my house. What Ms. Peggy has presented, I'm really concerned because I am in front of this huge detention, but also my concern is how they present in the landscaping. I don't agree. To me, that's not acceptable that every time that I wake up, it's gonna be a bunch of trees and a grass. To me, that's a safety concern, and that is a potential increase on crime. So imagine that the idea is that they're gonna put a bunch of trees all this area. So there's no light. They are saying that they're gonna use the existing light, but they are planning to plant trees. So let's say that whoever is gonna buy this unit, they may say, hey, I wanna put a fence. So after the fence, they're gonna put trees. So 5 years from now, those trees are gonna mature. So that means that it's gonna be really dark. And I propose several times, I mentioned during the last meeting, that I would like to see some light, some kind of landscaping light across the whole Campbell. I am concerned about the type of trees because I have been asking what is the plan for maintenance. As 5 years from now, there's gonna be a bunch of leaves. Just in my property, there's gonna be like, I don't know, So you can have an idea. I don't know if you're familiar of the area, but if you are in front of my house, it's like parking 8 to 10 cars this line. It's a huge property. And what I'm seeing in picture that I'm gonna wake up until die, I guess, I'm gonna be seeing a bunch of trees and a bunch of grass. That's gonna be increased mosquitoes. That's gonna, I can see people, hiding there. To me, that's a huge concern for me and my son. I want prevention. I want that they consider, instead of just having grass and bunch of trees, I want to see a landscaping designing that is more integrated into the community. I have seen the proposal of grass, covered with grass, but I have seen those developments that they are huge, but not in this tiny neighborhood. And I am confined to see the rest of my life to see that bunch of grass that is it's not gonna look good. It's not a good transition. It's not sensitive. I would like to see ornamental plants. I would like to see a really nice landscaping design with evergreen trees, ornamental grass, rocks. That's what I would like to say for me, my view, and not only for me, for my community. We deserve not to be in the back. We deserve also to be integrated in this development, not only in the corner. Another
Okay.
thing that I
Yeah,
believe
man, we're
that
kind of
you
out of
agree
time here.
that you're supposed to block this entrance, and they agree. And now I didn't see those adjustments that you guys agree in the last, how do you say, in the last meeting. I want to see block those area. I would like to see nice landscaping designing, and I would like to see the light.
Okay, thank you. Who's next?
I'm Debbie Anderson. I live at 11630 Campbell Street. And,
Okay.
I asked some questions for Pauline Dilly.
Can I have you speak into the microphone? I can't.
I'd also like to ask a few questions from Pauline Dilly, who
Okay.
owns the property on Campbell.
Okay.
First, I'll get her questions on the plans, the water and sewer plans. It shows that the city sewer will be abandoned on both sides of her property. There's no sewer connection maintained across her property. So her question is whether it should be hooked into the project sewer lines.
Yeah.
Where she'll be connected, and she has an easement for that sewer line across her property. Does that void the easement? Will she be connected? Will she be paying sewer bills on her water bill? What's the plan for her wastewater?
So that's something that will be looked at as part of this project. That they're not going to disconnect any water or sewer from any existing properties. I mean, so they'll take a look at that as part of the whole deal to make sure that they still have those services.
It wasn't mentioned on any of the plans, just the cutoff.
Yeah, and that's a stormwater main. I think that you might be seeing that it may be abandoned now. I'll let the applicant speak about that after the public testimony, but it's probably going to be something that they'll review to reconnect after they make improvements to their site.
For my own testimony, I just like to say that the whole project seems unsuitable for this location. The design, brick, 3-story buildings in a suburban area that's all frame, single-family ranch houses and split levels, wood siding, no brick at all. It looks like, something belongs in the city and not in a suburban area, and especially not in our area. I don't know, when you show the site plan, it shows a big gray area for this project area. It's actually all wooded. I know they're meeting regulations for replacement of mature trees under the tree ordinance. It'll be decades before their 3-inch circumference trees match, 3-foot circumference trees. There's no canopy anymore, no shade, no carbon sequestration. It's all wooded. You're running off all the wildlife, which we're used to having throughout the area, deer, every form of wildlife.
Okay. Yeah.
They've done a 109-page traffic study, which basically says, a few changes and everything will be fine. But at the meeting at the trail center, they said they wouldn't be widening Holmes Road at all. And I'd like to clarify that because on their plan, it just looks like the turn lane is striping and arrows without any widening. And that's a very dangerous part of Holmes Road. It's not only the number of cars, it's the kind of cars, heavily loaded rock dump trucks frequently coming all the way from Highway 150 down Holmes. Numerous emergency vehicles. It's already a dangerous area. So just striping is not going to solve the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a lot more to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're out of time here.
I've submitted my testimony.
Okay. I think we got it. Thank you. Anybody else?
We have
Well-
no hands raised online.
Okay. With that, we'll close public testimony and like to hear from the applicant on, there's several things that were brought up during testimony. So if you don't mind addressing those, I think that'd be great.
Okay. Guess we'll start. I heard some questions on whether or not the sewer would be disconnected from the one home. We are reconnecting it and routing it around our site. That's included in the plan.
Currently the sewer's in the back and it's going to be out the front
sewer,
now.
Yeah, the sewer does run behind her house, like what she was correctly pointing at the right spot. But basically we're just taking it and where it used to run right through where we're proposing new structures, we're just routing it around, which we've checked flow lines and such and should be no issues.
Okay,
Plus we
just
get
to help
new sewers out of that.
help the person out that had the comment, that'll be done. No cost to that homeowner, correct?
No cost or disruption.
And there won't have any disruption of service? Okay.
Yes. To the point of the lighting on Campbell, I think the idea there, what we talked about at the trail center the other evening was that, I think we were after landscape lighting, potentially putting up some bushes and things like that, which we did say that, for the bushes part, we're like, yes, we can propose some at the landscape scale of this drawing. It is not, we're not showing those high level details of bushes and everything else that you might see around foundation plantings and things like that. That is, there are stipulations in the staff report that we've agreed to put in some of that stuff. When it comes to lighting, that'll come up to the individual owners, whether or not they'll put landscape lighting out in front of their home. The detention basin, I think I heard some questions about, mosquitoes or unsightliness. It will be a grass bottom. We are grading it to drain. We definitely do not want to keep water in there. That does cause soft soils. That causes, issues to happen inside your detention basin. So we are grading it to drain. Other issues that were brought up with,
Will that detention have any landscape around it? Other than just a few things noted on the landscape plan?
Right now, what we've got on there is what we had intended, but I guess I was hearing some ornamental grasses and things like that. That's something that we can take a look at. Those are easy adds. But right now that's what we have intended.
Yeah, I think there's some maybe bur oaks, trees or something on there.
Yeah.
That are anticipated, but because that is facing neighbors across the street, there ought to be a little bit more attention to detail on that.
Yeah. I also wonder, is there an opportunity to install more mature trees rather than, just baby trees so that they're established a little more. I know that's an expense to developer, but provide.
Yeah, I mean, along Campbell especially, we're trying to preserve especially the trees that are, say, out in those front yards and such. There's not a necessary need to take those trees just because we're not changing grade like we are through the middle of the site. Um, but to your question, we typically do like to, I mean, 2 to 3 inch caliper. We proposed 2 inch. You start getting much bigger than that, and you're really risking the tree anyway because it needs to kind of evolve in that area to really thrive and grow well. So it actually can work out better to have smaller caliper trees, plant those, have them adapt themselves to that area. I think while we're on the tree subject, I heard some questions about, how much trees would be removed. If you look at the layout of the site and how it's situated, unfortunately, the band of trees, the primary band of trees runs right down through the middle, which is where you have the natural lot splits. Well, that's exactly where that road would need to go, and unfortunately, that's going to put those trees in the way of the road. So, what other questions particularly did we have?
One thing I'd like to offer regarding the question about trash cans, there will be a private HOA on this development, and part of that HOA cost will be the private pickup of trash. So we will not be relying on city services for that. And there will be monies in the HOA and the responsibility to maintain the detention ponds
Yeah, and so
Will that trash be located on this site?
in the alleyways where you roll out your barrels, because that's where the garage is. The garage face the alleyways.
I would, so you're talking every townhome would roll out their own individual trash
Yes.
into the alleyway, and the trash truck is supposed to pick up there. So there's not a community like big giant.
There is
Trash
a
bin?
trash enclosure near the clubhouse, for maybe bulkier stuff. But for the week-to-week trash pickup out of the garage into the alleyway where a private pickup service will empty it.
Can you note that on your site plan where that trash is going to be?
It's in the northeast. It's just above the parking, northeast past the pool. There's like that little.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And the renderings for the
Trash, okay.
for the trash have been included as well.
Okay. I think another big comment, there's a couple of them. One of them is the architectural style of these buildings, especially those that are fronting homes. It's all brick, and you're right across the street from single family homes that have a little more character to them, and not all brick. Is there a way to blend some of that characteristics in that? Because they really look like they're made for downtown urban setting kind of development, that you're in a more suburban type of area, that it seems like you'd do something a little different on the architectural design to make it fit a little better.
Well, we did look at alternative materials, but the comments from staff were they liked the brick and wanted to see more of the brick, and we did have stucco doing some infill work, but that was deleted. We do have the Juliet balconies, which make them look more residential, and bigger panes or bigger windows on the first and second floor. So if at one point we looked at pitch roofs, but then that was taking the structures up to 45 feet, and we felt that was just way too high. So
Yeah, I agree. That is way too high. It seems to me like you might take a look at the developments that are at 135th in the Martin City area, and maybe mimic some of that.
Well,
That
mean,
has some more character to it.
Yeah, even development across homes, it's a mix of brick and uh different types of siding and stuff like that. So it softens it up a little bit
yeah.
compared to like a more industrial downtown look.
I toured a complex in Nashville and a complex also in Denver that was in suburban settings of all brick, similar to these in detailing, and they really came off very well.
I agree. I think it doesn't look contextual to the area. And it's simple, adding adding some relief to that brick, which the other ones have have brick facades on it, but they very clearly have elevations with siding or separation. This proposed complex would look great downtown or near downtown because we have that existing here, but I kind of agree that that could have a little bit more thought put into it.
For what it's worth, just to add another perspective, I really appreciate the high-end material and the detail. I think it's a really beautifully done building, and I think it can look fitting in that area. And as we have nodes of the city that have more density over time, Martin City is a little node that I think this can work really nicely, and it doesn't have to. I am appreciative that they're not using stucco and EFIS and that they're using brick instead. So fully understand that other people might have differing opinions, but for what it's worth, I think it's a really nicely done project.
Well, and I'll add to that too, that I think the other component to this is the trees will be an actual factor in the architecture itself, and that as they mature, they'll start to sort of block some of the architecture, strategically in some places more than others, I'm sure. But I think that will help sort of tie that in together once that landscaping matures. So.
Okay, other items that were brought up. Pet, what to do? Is there going to be a pet park or anything like that?
There is some open space that we're proposing near the pool amenity. I think I've heard brought up various pet pickup containers. I mean, that's a relatively simple ad if that's.
So yeah, I was wondering, same, like green areas for pets, or do you have recreational areas like for kids? You have families in this?
Yeah, some of that green space and pool area is really our amenity for the site.
Is that
Maybe I'm missing. Where's the green space?
the requirement that they need to have more? It seems
Typically there is a green, a certain amount, but it all depends on size of the development.
So if you look adjacent to the pool area, there's an area just to the north that's elongated where you can kind of see like a unit could be there, but we've eliminated it for the purposes of having kind of a shared.
I thought that
green
was
area.
supposed to be the clubhouse. Or are you talking about to the east?
It's to the north and east right there.
Like just next to the dumpster, to the west or to the east of the dumpster?
On the other
Can you
side.
see my mouse?
Oh,
So here's the clubhouse area, and then right here.
Yes, that.
Oh, okay. I see.
And not to mention, the walkability of it, we have a good slide in our overall presentation, but I don't have it on this one. But it shows just how walkable the site is. And so like I say, we could potentially put some of those containers out along those trails.
Yeah, it might be just a suggestion, your stormwater detentions, kind of use those as green space and opportunities to do something to blend that in with pedestrian amenity and access.
Okay, point taken.
Okay, can you just kind of talk through the process of stormwater management and
Sure.
how that works?
Sure. So on this one, we're meeting just city requirements on it to like was said, basically we're controlling the pre-existing condition is we're not exceeding that in various storm events. So there is some water, that's the water like on 115th that just kind of sheets off over there, makes it into the curb and gutter system that we'll be putting in. Then we have the majority of the water going to the northeast, which is the large detention basin, which we have been out there to look at that in a site visit. I don't doubt that in some storms that in a larger storm that there could be some overtopping because some of the existing infrastructure is kind of small. But again, we're going to do what's required there. We recognize that that at least that very first pipe is kind of not in a very good condition. So if there's an opportunity for us to do some improvements there as we go, that's we'll take them up on that. On the southwest side, we've got kind of a similar situation where some of that storm infrastructure that goes under that long stretch of 117th Street, it's in a little bit of a case of disrepair. Now, of course, at the detail level of this plan, we don't go into exactly what we're going to do, but something's going to happen there to tie that into the existing storm sewer system so it doesn't overtop 117th Street. So
Have you done your stormwater study yet?
yes,
Okay, so that's in place now and being reviewed by the city?
that's right.
Okay.
So we recognize some older infrastructure out there, and again, some of that's going to have to be fixed up in order for us to even make those connections. So
Okay. We've kind of talked about Holmes Road, and so it's basically putting in, so it'll be a 3-lane road south past your development, and the center lane will be a dedicated left turn lane for both directions, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. Can you talk about the phasing of when existing trees will be removed?
So the majority of those will happen in phase one, again, just because we're going to install the north-south road as part of phase one. That will be right where those trees exist today.
Can you point out on the site plan where phase one and kind of
Sure.
how you,
Sure.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Go back to mine, thanks.
There was a drawing that showed it somewhere. Yeah. Phase one is the east side, right, of the property?
It's the north side.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
North
but
side,
it's
sorry,
plan left.
plan west, actually, sorry.
This is this
Yeah, can you share that?
when it catches up here.
I can share that.
I want Commissioner Beasley to be able to see this. Okay, so as you do construction, go ahead. You're on the north side, that's what you're doing first.
Okay, so yeah, so you see the green. The green is phase one, and you're going to see the massing of trees that exists at the back of basically all of these properties, the existing properties, and so that's what puts your road right through the middle of that.
And then as part of doing that, some of the street trees you're putting back, are they being done at the same time? Or kind of what's the phasing or time frame for that?
The phasing would be, well, I guess would be tied to the street acceptance. So so those would go in at the same time. We're obviously not accessing, we're installing these alleyways afterwards. So so there's no, there won't be trees and such in front of those, but the rest of them would be no reason they wouldn't go in. And we do have, I know there's the new tree ordinance, tree preservation ordinance. We've done the calculations on that, and we've looked at the tree canopy and what we're taking out, and we're actually giving back a considerably more than what's required.
Okay. So the improvements on 115th and the street trees, that'll be all part of phase one.
Yes.
And then the detention pond on the northeast corner, that's phase one. So any, getting that back to green and that, and some landscaping around that'll occur as well. What is your phasing? What's the time frame for phase 1, 2, and 3?
That's market.
We're looking to start in spring of 2025.
And then, so that's phase 1. Then how about phase 2? And three, or are you doing it all at once?
No, we'll be doing it in 3 phases. I don't think we've really identified a start of phase or phase 3, but
That could be a couple years.
no, I don't think so. I think it's finishing phase 1, getting it occupied, moving on to phase 2 and phase 3. So
So overall, it could be a 5 to 10 year project,
I don't think so. I'd say
3 to 5.
closer to 3. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's everything I had on the list. Testimony. Okay, anything else from the commissioners?
I have a couple things.
Go ahead.
I believe I heard them address one of the conditions on detention ponds that Commissioner Allender would always raise.
Yeah.
Permeable surface so that the drainage is good. Did I hear him mention that correctly?
I think the term is green infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing?
I think they're doing just a pond, but you'll take a look at utilizing green improvements.
Yes, that's right. Those are also dubbing as extended dry detention basin for green improvements. Yes.
Okay.
And they mentioned an HOA would be responsible for a couple of the items that's been discussed. So, and then I also heard them make mention that the open concept that they showed us could be changed dependent on that tenant. So are all of these for sale or are they for lease?
They are for sale.
What's your price points?
I believe that for the single family, the price point's about 400,000. For the individual units, they would be around 300,000 based upon the square footage.
And then the map you just showed with the phasing, those 11 buildings, are those the fourplex type units you were talking about?
The ones in red, are you referring to
No,
those?
the red I thought would be your single family.
That's correct.
Correct. The red is the single family. The green is the fourplexes.
And did I hear you mention townhouses as well?
Well, that's the type of architectural concept that we're looking at.
So your fourplexes will have the appearance of townhomes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. So at this time, we are going to close testimony and speak amongst the commissioners. If there's nothing to discuss, which I don't believe. But after our discussion, we'll take a motion. Anybody want to start with any comments?
I mean, I can address one because it seems to be that one of the concerns that didn't really get talked about much was the scale of the buildings. I think that vocabulary wasn't particularly used, but it seemed like there were concerns that the buildings would feel somehow bigger than the existing houses around. And I think rather than looking at like a quadplex as like a bigger unit, looking at how does the scale actually match existing houses there, sort of observing some of the houses that are here, some of the prairie houses, I've noticed some duplexes. The way that the floor plan is arranged is that there's a garage space in the living quarters, and that those two are effectively separated on like a single story in most of these cases, and makes the houses much larger than what is actually happening in this development, where the garages are taking place within the actual footprint of the living quarters. So that fact alone brings the scale of the houses down a lot more, so that you can fit more units within the same footprint of many of the other houses that are there. So I think that the scale matches the neighborhood pretty well from a land use perspective. Aside from that, I think overall that was pretty well thought out how everything would fit together here, and I'll be generally supportive of the project.
I think, Commissioner Enders, any other comments you have?
No, and I appreciate Commissioner Hassek's addition there because that articulates it nicely, that it's tough to add density in different parts of the city, and this seems like a good way of doing so.
Okay, Commissioner Beasley?
No, I think we have zeroed down on some of the neighborhood's concerns to make sure that they've been clearly identified so they can address them as they proceed with the development. I'm comfortable with the questions and answers we've asked so far on this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Arkin, anything to add?
I think everyone's touched on it. I think we've asked quite a few questions, and there's been reasonable answers to most of those questions.
Same. I'm good with
Okay.
the discussion so far.
Yeah, so my comments on the site are it's a much different development than what's down there now. And I would like to see a little bit more blending of the architecture into the neighborhoods that are there, just so it's not very so stark from, as you drive down the road, you say, whoa, there's something totally doesn't feel like it fits. So I would like to see a little bit more architectural look and review of that to blend in a little bit better. I think the landscaping should be taken a look at just again to provide buffering from this development to the east, of course, especially around the detention pond. I think we addressed utilities, stormwater management. Holmes Road is already a road that's a challenge with traffic. So I am happy to see that they're doing some striping to add a left turn lane to help a little bit out there. But I think Holmes Road is one that's it's a much larger issue because there's so much going on down there now. It should be taken a look at, and I don't think this development's going to have a huge impact on what's already major issues down there. Other than that, I think just the waivers ought to just make sure those go through the proper channels to get looked at through the city departments to make sure they're on board with the same. I don't think you had any other items on.
And Ms. Baxter can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do have the language for an additional condition that they get approval from the TDC for the waivers that we discussed prior to the MPD final plan.
Yeah, I just would like to
That's
add
fine.
not only TDC, but just the departments in general, because some of the other ones are affected by water services, to go through them as well.
Okay. So the applicant shall receive approval from the TDC for waivers as listed on sheet C1 prior to approval of the MPD final plan. That would be condition number 61.
Yeah, I think that,
That's okay.
that fits.
And I can pull up my slides with the additional changes.
Just for me, can you repeat that 61st conditioning one more time?
The approval or the applicant shall receive approval from the TDC for the waivers listed on sheet C1 prior to approval of the MPD final plan.
That's sheet C0.
Oh. You're right, C0.
Okay, and in addition of additional conditions, do we want to add a condition to add additional landscaping at the east detention
I think you
station?
should.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, anything else to add to that?
Did we add, I mean, I don't know if it's a condition, but adding the pet, like the disposal centers, or I don't know how to call that.
Stations.
Stations, yeah. I mean, we
Yeah,
do,
you can.
if you want to.
Sure.
For the
Make sure, is that something
I mean, I
that would be
believe you guys said-
realistic?
The HOA will
Yeah.
have in their documents. Because somebody's gotta maintain and empty the bins. It seems like a great job.
For clarity, for condition number 62 for the landscaping for the east detention basin, do you want that prior to ordinance request or at the time of MPD final plan where they can show more detail?
I guess there's no real review of that other than through the planning process, so I think through before.
Okay, it will be on the consent agenda for a CPC. Oh, no, wait, it won't. Sorry. My mistake, yeah. Before ordinance request.
Yeah. Okay. Got it all?
No additional for me. Yeah, I think I've got everything here. We'll find out. Which
Campbell Street.
What was the condition for Campbell Street again? Oh, with the.
I don't think we have anything for that. I don't even know what it'd be.
If we're talking about the landscaping for the detention basin, that's
Yeah.
what we were just discussing.
The passage.
So I believe the neighborhood brought up the runoff or flooding issue on Campbell Street. Does that fall under the detention basin?
Yeah, that's gonna file under the detention basin where they've got their stormwater study to work
Okay.
all that out, because they're gonna have likely some things to look at. Not only on site, but off site where they tie in. And
Okay.
so that's gonna have to be something that's coordinated with the city and how to address that.
So it sounds like we've covered the issues.
Considered leaving Campbell alone at the backs of these new.
Yeah, I think you put some kind of buffer landscaping through there to help kind of give that.
You wouldn't need that alley behind. Pretty in the other houses on Campbell.
I think that's something that the developer, you guys can discuss, on that. It's,
Possible to.
I don't, well, you got Holmes Road there. And so there's a buffer of the road itself. Okay.
We've addressed
Thank
that
you.
as well. So
Go ahead.
I see that's already been addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are we ready to take a motion then?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, then, Chair Crowe, I move to approve docket items 7.1 and 7.2 with amendment to the condition number 14 to exclude curb and gutter. Amendment to condition number 40 to align with the language within the waivers. And then an addition of condition number 60 that the plating language be aligned with that in the waiver. Addition of condition 61 to receive TDC approval.
Or other departments
On
the deviations.
Addition of condition 62 that we add landscaping along the east detention basin along Campbell, I believe, correct? And addition of condition number 63 for the addition of pet disposal locations throughout the development. Did it cover everything?
Okay. I've got a motion.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second. The only one I was looking at is the architectural of the buildings themselves. Character.
Can we condition that?
You
Yeah,
can condition it.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced on it just because I think it's more so an issue of the shape of the buildings and the
Yeah.
scale, not so much.
Also, I did a
materiality,
little
but
I did a little bit more digging around there, on Google Maps, and you have that Methodist church just below, which is all brick.
Okay.
So I'm,
Any further discussion? All right, so Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Harkin,
aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Powell,
No?
Enders,
Aye.
Pasek,
Aye.
Talia.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 5-1. And my vote again is more for the architecture to make it fit into the site, but other than that, I'm in favor of the project. All right, thank you.
I just looked at this. So
Yeah, I know what you're.
I was
talking
like,
about. It's a postmodern church, I believe.
I was like, that'll work.
Thank you all.
I
Mid-century
think
church.
that takes us through our docketed items we have, other than at the very end. Snuck in there after number 16 is Development Management Division's infill residential development standards.
Yep.
Yeah.
To go through that.
Yes.
Still have time.
How long do you think
Uh,
it'll be?
Does anybody need a break? Should we take
I
a,
just might need to use the bathroom.
If you want to take a break,
let's take a,
Donna can get set up for.
yeah,
the
let's take
presentation.
like a 10 or 15-minute break, just to stretch our legs. And so it's 11:52 now, so let's be back at 5 after,
tell you what,
if you don't mind.
If you would.
That's
send me an
13 minutes.
email.
Good with that, man?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I gotta go. Is that fine?
Yeah, as soon as you're ready.
Just
Okay.
Just a very brief introduction for Anna on this case. We've had this on your docket for a couple of meetings now. I think this was a part of the original amendment. There was a promise that there would be a look back at this. And we would really love to, Anna's going to present some of the thoughts that we have about ways that we might tweak the ordinance to make it easier for staff to administer. We would also be open to any comments that you all might have about your thoughts, ways that we could improve this ordinance. And I think it's very interesting to see kind of where we've come over the last not quite 2 years. So Anna, I'll turn this over to you.
Is Tyler and Orstein back online with us?
I'm back on.
Okay.
But I'm going to keep my camera off while I have a quick bite to eat.
Okay.
Borstein is still on the Zoom also.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. This is just going to be an overview of the infill residential development standards. I'm going to go over some highlights, what was approved, data that we've collected since the adoption of these regulations, and then discussing some proposed changes. If you want details on those proposed changes, I can go into that, but I'm just going to do a high-level explanation at this time. So this ordinance, the regulations for infill development, was approved back in January of 2023. Prior to that, we were working pretty extensively with the concerned neighbors that brought this request to our attention. The whole purpose of the infill development standards was to encourage contextually appropriate residential development. Now, the best example that I like to give is in the West Plaza neighborhood. You see single-story original historic bungalows next to massive mansions that are built to the extent of the zoning and development code. And people in these city center neighborhoods, they were advocating for us to do something. They were complaining, about the stark contrast, between those two styles of development, thus the invention of the infill residential development standards. This is some examples that the ordinance is trying to prevent. We can see one example along Woodland where you see the original historic style home for Kansas City. It could possibly be a 4-square, and then just adjacent to that property are more suburban style homes. You see garages, you see them pushed back from the front setback of the property, as well as the other example that's in a more modern style, which is a huge home and a huge garage, built on this lot in a established neighborhood that does not have homes of a similar scale. So what was approved, I have some points pulled from that ordinance. It talks about, well, what is infill development? That is any residential development. So it can be new construction, it could be in an addition on an infill lot. What's an infill lot? That is any lawfully created lot that is zoned residential that is either deeded or platted prior to March 1st of 1954 or annexed into the city prior to March 1st of 1954. That covers of the residentially zoned properties. That's about half of Kansas City. We also have to consider the context area. That's how city staff determines what are the dimensions that are going to be applied to these lots. So the context area is all lots within 200 feet of the subject property on the same block face. If it's not residentially zoned or it's not a permitted building type within that district, it's excluded from the context area. So there is a lot of misunderstanding in the general public and in the development community about what should be considered in this context area. Something across the street, not considered, and something 2 blocks down the street, also not considered. This is what was approved by city council, 200 feet on either side of the subject property, with the building on it, that is the context area. And this is the graphic within the ordinance that explains what I just went over. So now I'm going to get into some maps to kind of frame the data that I'm going to present. This is an image of the first district. As we can see, very small portions of the first district do apply to the infill standards because many of it is new. Many of it was not platted or described by deed or annexed into the city prior to 1954. So we can see within the first year and a half that we've had these standards, 0 homes have been built per these regulations. But again, big area, small applicable area, thus you get that result. Same with District 2, slightly more of the district applies to infill development. We also have not seen a home that has been constructed per these standards, but again, large area, small applicable area for the infill standards. And of course, with both of these scenarios, other homes and projects have exist. I'm purely just talking about residential permits that are applicable to the infill standards. Now we're getting into more parts of the Kansas City area that does have a large portion of area dedicated to infill residential standards. As we can see, District 3, large majority of that is applicable. And we see 4 homes that have been built subject to the infill standards. Again, of course, other projects and homes have occurred. We are just focusing on infill permits. For most of the 4th district, it does apply to this. Of course, there's a large portion of the 4th district that are zoned, commercial and ND. We have not seen any brand new homes in 4. Am I looking at 4? My thing is blocked. Okay, great. For the standards as well. Moving on to 5 and 6. Again, we're going back to the same scenario we're run with districts 1 and 2, where you've got a large portion of land, but smaller applicability for the infill standards. No homes per infill standard have been constructed per these standards, and 5. And in the 6 districts, 5 homes have been built. So why did I go over all this information in a visual manner? Because when I describe exactly how many certificates of occupancies has resulted from these standards, it's going to seem low. That's due to how much of Kansas City is applicable to these standards, and for the fact that I believe that a year to build a home from concept to certificate of occupancy takes more than a year for anyone to do. This is applicable for Kansas City and other communities. But that does not mean that we can't make updates or that certain goals of the infill standards haven't been met, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But we have seen around 150 certificate of occupancies that have been issued to properties that are considered infill. And why certificate of occupancies? That tells us that a project has been done. A home has been constructed, a deck has been built, an addition has been completed. That shows us that work has been completed. Versus there are other permits that are pending right now that would tell a different story. We want to know what's been done. 1% of those permits have applied for variances to the infill standards, and 100% of those permits, variance requests, were approved. Now, that tells us that there's a little bit something more going on with accepting or applying these standards. We anticipated that the infill standards were going to reduce the amount of variances that we were seeing because more people were going to be able to build on those vacant lots in the city core. But we are still seeing that people are requesting variances to those standards. So again, we do believe more time is needed to determine the long-term applicability of these regulations, but of course we can still make updates now. Because we really need to understand like what are the goals and the purposes of the infill development standards. We want high quality construction. We want them to be contextual and aesthetic, you know, to the context area. We want to encourage more types of housing, you know, in these neighborhoods. So we really need to balance what's going on. So for example, contextually, when we're looking at the design of the homes that have been built per these standards, they are meeting the goals of the infill regulations. We can see this example at 4332 Forest, where there's one car garage. You know, it's thin in nature. That meets the context of the area. Does it help with affordability? Not quite. This is was still listed as a $500,000 home. Will the infill standards fix that problem? Probably not. You know, there are a lot of other issues at play when it comes to pricing a home, construction costs, etc. But like I said, we do see that the infill standards are meeting those contextual goals, creating contextual buildings. Same with this one at 2111 Brooklyn Avenue. The context area does not have front-loaded garages in this stance. So we see this home also not without a front-loading garage. Again, meeting the aesthetics of the neighborhood, but the price point is still high. And in understanding where those variances are coming from, we're seeing a large amount of people requesting variances to the driveway and garage standards, and next being setbacks. Again, the variance request shows either a pushback from the development community for what they want to see on their projects, performa standards that they need, market standards that they need to make, conflicting with why we have the standards of strictly having garages or no garages and driveways. So to conclude, some things that we will look to improve on these standards is we want to complete the internal SOP, standard operating procedure, to help staff and planning, you know, within the permits division, make consistent determinations on the infill standards. Because of course, by nature, it can be very subjective, objective. And you know, and we want to reduce those uncertainties for the development community as much as possible. We're also looking at some potential text amendments, clarifying some points. Again, city staff can make consistent determinations, addressing minimum lot area per unit within that section of code, setback standards, how to measure the height of a structure, and more clarifications on the attached garages versus driveway standards. We're also open to reevaluating which lots are considered infill and which aren't. You know, as I showed, it does apply to all portions of Kansas City, but the infill standards and them working in 4, 5, and 6, you know, means something different to districts 1 and 2. And evaluating the driveway regulations. So I should have probably gone over that, but basically a vacant lot can have a driveway or a garage if over 51% or more of those homes have driveways or front-loaded garages. A lot of times people want them regardless if they are existing or not. That was a big point of contention for the neighborhood associations who were involved in creating these regulations because they wanted to reduce the amount of curb cuts, driveways, and front-loaded garages. So we have to look at that, you know, meeting neighborhood needs plus development needs. So that concludes my overview for the look back, where we've been, where we're going. Again, if you want to go into details exactly on what these text amendments could say, I have those ready to go. But if not, I'll be happy to answer any questions about these standards. Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes,
Do
I
you
do.
know,
Go ahead, Forstein.
No, I was just letting you know I had a question. Who was that was speaking up?
That was Commissioner Enders.
Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, thanks. I was wondering if you talked about the applications and certificates of occupancy that you've seen in the neighborhoods where you felt or where the city felt there had been issues with non-contextual homes being built. Has it had an adverse impact on the rate at which properties are being purchased and houses built? And obviously, I realize that would be a positive too in terms of this ordinance achieving what it wanted to achieve.
Uh, I can't comment on the rate at which homes are being purchased, but like the third district is a good example, where we did see new homes built in that district that were subject to the infill standards. And that's, exactly what the infill standards were for. They have lots of vacant lots. We're trying to ensure that homes built there match what's existing. So we would like to think that that was encouraging that style of development.
Yeah, I didn't know if there were any builders in particular who, really were working with a high degree of like concentration in a neighborhood, who then after these standards all of a sudden have kind of stopped their activity, or if they've pivoted to continue to build in the neighborhood but build more contextual homes.
The latter. We have
Okay,
not seen
so
an abandonment of developing in Kansas City since these regulations.
great.
So my question had to do with lot size. Many times we will hear that a lot is not buildable when it's less than, I think it's a 25-foot frontage. So how do the lot sizes play a role in these standards that we're looking at?
These standards, along with the minor subdivision amendments that we did at the exact same time, do encourage people on building on smaller lots. Now, it is possible to build on a narrow lot. It just takes some creativity and some understanding of how you need to meet the building code, because there's firewall separation involved. So from a zoning perspective, these regulations do not prevent people from building on narrow lots.
Well, I know at one point there was a push to advertise doing more building on those smaller lots. So that's kind of where that question came from.
Yeah,
But this is only including single family. I know we could have a twoplex or a fourplex or not necessarily a townhome. So is it strictly single family and none of the multi-type?
The infill standards apply to any permitted residential building type within that zoning district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
For
you.
example, in the west side that you have, I don't know if it's now, but before the lots are like 25 feet, no? Front on the west side, and now the permit say that you cannot build on those because it needs to be with the buffer that you need to leave on the sides.
So the zoning code and these regulations don't prevent someone from doing that. You can have a side setback of 5 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet, whatever the code allows, but you have to construct your buildings in a certain way to build that close to the property line.
So with this ordinance, you could build on those.
Correct.
And is this encouraging to build like super small houses and $500,000 houses that are like super small?
Yeah, it opens up more possibility for people to develop in different ways. Per the zoning code, again, it's up to the actual, project developer, if they want to build a small lot on a small house on a big lot, or a big house on a small lot. It just depends on context.
Well, Anna, it definitely restricts what people can build, right? Because you said it increases what people can build, but this is clearly, I mean, it's a restriction to prevent the type of developments that people said this doesn't make sense in my neighborhood, of which we've seen plenty.
True, I guess, from perspective, it does control the massing of the buildings, but it does not prevent someone. Let me back up. Before infill, we had different standards of when it is a lot deemed combined, very strict setbacks. So it would make building a home on there not as possible because they wanted to obviously guarantee as much financial stability on the lot, whereas this makes it so there's a little bit more wiggle room to develop on those smaller vacant lots. But yes, it does control, like, if there's only one story in your context area, you can't then build 3, you have to build 1.
So you're maintaining height and look.
Massing, correct.
Okay. So I guess I'm answering my question as I'm thinking it through. Excuse me. So they can come with their concept, but then when we look at, as we just did, the architectural stuff applied to it, that's where we would address those types of things.
Yeah, the infill standards control massing, so setbacks, building height, garage and driveways, but the materials of the building are not controlled by the infill standards.
So that gets passed on to the regular process?
The regular building permit process, correct.
Okay.
Okay, one question for that. So the last session that we have this the West Side Housing Association building like a aplex, and then they have another lot next to the 1.2 million dollar house, and it was like a super small 25 feet lot. So that they can, so this will allow them to build a small house.
If your context area has a bunch of buildings that are 3 feet tall, then the vacant lot could build up to 3 feet, and they could also build 1 if that's their goals. But yeah, but if it's all 1 story, then the mega $2.5 million home could not go there because the context is just 1 stories.
There are a couple of modern homes next to Westwood Park, which is 47th and State Line. I think one of those homes, I know they came in succession, one at a time. And so in that neighborhood, as there have been a lot of new modern homes, it would, in some ways, I feel as though the market should be able to continue along that path. And I get it that if someone's in a 1.5 story bungalow, of which there are many in that neighborhood, you wouldn't want something towering over you at 3 feet or at 3 stories. Now these homes are also on a hill. The whole area is hilly, so they don't appear to be larger than others. But I could see a situation in which we're stopping the natural evolution of a neighborhood as people continue to buy lots and try to increase, usable space on a lot. And so maybe someone had a bungalow that was a 1,500 square foot bungalow that they've turned into a 3,000 square foot home. I wouldn't want to do that to make it so that someone could age in their home or have a family in their home and be more comfortable. Are there, like, do you think that in that neighborhood in particular, since this was, I think, one of the neighborhoods that was being talked about, will be preventing people from building the types of homes they want, and that it will kind of almost freeze in place this disjointed, mixed neighborhood?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting policy point. That is literally the flip side to why it was created. In responding to the concerned neighbors in these city center neighborhoods that didn't want that to happen. That is why the infill residential development standards exist.
Yeah, and so if I'm the 4th house on that street where it's 3 modern homes, it's actually 4 if you go across the street. So it's 4 modern homes in a row that have all been built in the last, let's call it 15 years. And then I'm that next house, in theory, I might not be able to build a house that looks like my 4 other neighbors to one side because they're less than 50% of the street. The 200, you know, the 200-foot radius.
Yeah, correct. You could be that last vacant lot. The minority of the homes are the 3-story, modern buildings. The others are the bungalows. If you wanted to build the 3-story modern structure, yeah, as a majority of them is the 1-story bungalows, this ordinance would put you on the side of the bungalows instead of the 3-story
Mhm.
structures. So you are, that is correct.
And then if there was someone requesting a variance to build that 4th home or just on a street like that where a lot of the homes are more mixed in the type of style and massing, so let's say I'm the home owner. If I talk to my neighbors and my neighbors say, we like the design of this person's house and we don't think it's too big, is that the type of thing then that city staff would take into account? Or is it simply like, we're really trying to be true to this ordinance and we're not going to allow that home to be built?
City staff, as we do with all portions of the code, we do it pretty strictly and by the book. So if it does not meet the infill standards, then they would require a variance, and they could take those concerns and support from their neighbors to the BZA, and then a variance could be granted.
Okay, thanks.
So just another little spin on that scenario. If the bungalow owners wanted to increase their homes to an additional story, does that come under this, or does it come under just the regular building permit process?
It would be reviewed under the infill standards.
So then we would possibly be preventing someone from changing the character of their home from a bungalow to a 2-story.
If the context does not dictate that new massing.
And then a variance would come into play as well?
Correct.
Okay. So they still have options. It's not a hard no if you can satisfy some other criteria.
It just sounds very subjective, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's up to whoever's, decision it is to approve a project like that. But yeah, it sounds like there's not really the hard lines, more so the infill standards are there to provide a framework for what would otherwise be a subjective decision.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if people still have options to fulfill their dreams.
And so that was reviewed by the CPC and the city council, as if do we stick to just conventional standards, which is R6 zoning district, maximum height, 45 feet. You could build 20, you could build to 45. That would be a case-by-case basis for that permit, depending on what the developer wanted to do. Or infill, if you are considered an infill lot, then that does not apply. You can't choose to either be infill or conventional. If you're an infill lot, you're subject to the infill standards.
Okay.
If the buildings within the context area for that subject property are all 2 stories, then the new building can only be 2 stories. If they wanted 3, they'd have to get a variance. Improve
I think it sounds fair.
Okay, anything else? Thank you for the presentation and update on that. Sarah, you said the next couple of months we might have some more items that we're going to hear?
For discussion, yes, at your next meeting, we're currently working with Public Works on updates to the major streets plan. That's part of their larger Vision Zero work. So we'll have an update from them on that. Because we've also been looking at amendments to the code with respect to how we amend major streets plan. And then December, we're planning to have long range or the district planners to give you an update on playbook implementation.
Okay. Do you think as part of the, that street master plan, we've heard a couple of times in the last few meetings about the rapid transit corridor?
That is part of the major street plan.
Is there like a current map as to where it'd be kind of interesting to see a map just kind of showing where that's.
Actually, that's something that we've been working on. Where have we collected easements with respect to the special rapid transit corridor? Where are there gaps where we would still need to collect easements as development occurs? So we could definitely share that with you at that
Okay.
meeting.
And that's the actual alignment of where that's going to go is in the current master.
It
street
is, but
master
I will
plan?
say, if you look at that map in the existing major street plan, it's very vague. And
Yeah.
so that's part of we're hoping to get a better exhibit to share with people as part of this project. But we've also, DMD staff has been working on identifying where easements have already been granted to the city, because we've been working on this for 50 years.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, it'd be nice to see that.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything for the good of the planning commission?
No, I appreciate the update.
All right, thank you. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. See y'all in a couple weeks.
Okay, take care.
All right.
What are the next sessions? November 20th and then December
November 20th, December 4th,
Yes.
and then December 18th,
18th, and then we don't until December.
January 15th.
I mean,